Good morning. We'll call the meeting to order. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Algonquin Highlands is located on Treaty 20 Mishi-Saugig territory and in the traditional territory of the Mishi-Saugig and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. We also acknowledge a historical shared presence of other Indigenous nations throughout the area, and we recognize these original inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. Could I have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda? Councillors Shortreed and Barry.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, second by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved, the special meeting agenda be approved as circulated.
All in favor? That's carried. So just a note for the public that this is a special meeting of council to look at projects and priorities for next year. It sets the tone for our budgeting process. And it's wonderful to see a room full of staff. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest? Hearing none, we'll start on new business. And first up is Mr. Thorne for Public Works.
Morning, Mayor and Council. So for Public Works, it was Good morning. Some technical difficulties there.
Morning.
Am I good to go here? Okay, perfect. First of all, I just want to thank council for another great year. It was very busy. As you can see throughout my presentation, these are just the highlighted key items that we were working on over the last year. Some were completed, some were still ongoing, and some were not able to get completed. As council is aware, this is just definitely high level items that, throughout the year, we had many other projects that we worked on. It was an extremely busy year for us with some of the bigger, larger projects that we took on that were extremely time consuming. And I just wanted to say thanks from my staff to council for the support this year and another great year. So moving into our projects that were finished, for the Stanhope Municipal Airport and airport development for 2025. As you can see, we were able to complete quite a few projects. Unfortunately, with the weather, we were only able to do one fly-in this year, but we are planning for 2 annually. We were able to move the fuel tanks off the property from the public area into the air side. We were able to move them out of the way so that this allowed for more public viewing of the apron and when the planes come in and things of that nature. So we were able to have more public against the fence line without the fuel tank being there. Crack sealing and the other large one, smaller project was the installation of the electrical pedestals, which was a great hit during the last fly-in that some of the people that were able to come to the event were able to use the water and the electrical without having cords running all over and potential for trip hazards and things like that. So although it may seem like a small project, it was a huge leap for us that really cleaned the area up and made it look very professional. The large project that we took on this year was the tree clearing. At the end of the year here, it just finished up a couple weeks ago. It looks great. They were able to clear 6 hectares of each side of the apron. When I get the videos back from the drone footage that was taken, I will do a report and share them with council because it's quite the difference if you get a chance to go down there and look at it. Ongoing projects that you'll see come back in 2026 are the investigation into the options to have hangar D repaired and back up and operational. The hangar roof repairs and replacement that we're working through right now for the 4 new hangars. There's some issues with the roof steel that needs to be replaced. Drainage repairs around the apron of the hangars and updating the airport development plan. Projects under aggregate is fairly simple, and annually we stack between 8,000 and 9,000 tons of sand. That was completed. We also were able to clear a small portion, just over an acre of trees and organic material to allow us to access the material underneath to continue making our own winter sand. And then ongoing was the replacement of the entrance gate. Buildings and facilities. So the new Public Works garage has been completed. There's just some minor things to finish up on it, which will likely end up having to wait till next year now that the snow is here. Things like line painting and things of that nature. But the new Public Works garage is completed, and staff are now working out of it. So again, I can't thank council enough for the support in this building. It has been pretty amazing to be able to move into something and have the efficiencies of being able to park things inside and being able to work and in a clean environment. And in this building's been excellent. So thank you. The Quagama garage, Public Works garage, there was a issue with the roof and the insulation. It was completed. It was removed and completed this year. That was a large project. LED lighting upgrades in the DRC and the EV charger station at the DRC. Ongoing projects, the Public Works renovation to the old Public Works garage is ongoing. It's expected that it'll be completed before the end of this year. They have really put their foot down on it in the last month. And as you see, if you drive by, the siding is going up, the roof has gone on it, insulation, things of that nature. So we're expecting it to be done before the end of this year. And then the ongoing, but actually has been completed since this was inputted, is the kitchen countertop replacement at the Stanhope Firefighters Community Hall. So our project manager was the lead on that and did a great job of getting that completed for us before the end of the year. And the countertops look excellent. Not that the pink ones that were there didn't look great. I just want to make sure I clarify that. They look really good. Fleet services. This year, one new tandem has been ordered and we're waiting for delivery in 2026. Council may recall that I also was given the pre-approval to order another truck, which will be delivered in 2027 as part of the life cycle of these trucks. The tender has not gone out for that. We're just waiting for other municipalities in the county to finish up with their budgets so we can tender this out at the beginning of the year. Delivery of a half-ton pickup truck, a three-quarter-ton pickup truck with a plow, and a new backhoe with accessories has been completed, and they will be surplus. They're up for auction right now. And then ongoing was the implementation of a digital pre-trip inspection. Still working through that. Under transportation, the bridge reserve was created, which is going to help us down the road when we have future projects on the bridges and when it comes time to replace the bridges. So that's very forward thinking of our council, and I appreciate the opportunity to have that set aside for us. Single service treatment was completed on the roads listed here. And then ongoing is the North Shore Road. As we met with Jewel last week in council to go over that project. So that will be ongoing as the year ends and the new year begins. And we were working on increased parking on Big Hawk Lake Road. That is ongoing. Administrative, staffing, and training. So we've had some changes since I've put this presentation together. We're now currently looking for a public works supervisor. But we have filled all of the other roles in public works. So we didn't lose the public works supervisor. We were able to reallocate him into an operator's position. So we were fortunate enough that he was able to stay with us, which is a great benefit to us. And so he's now an operator. We were able to promote within a foreman, new hire of a maintenance coordinator, in-house promotion of a seasonal maintenance worker, and then new operators were hired. This is the first year in my career here where we've had 90% new staff in Public Works Roads Department. So it's been a great experience having the new people come in, new eyes, new ideas, and really looking forward to working with them or continue working with them. I think it's something to note here that you will see across the board when we come to budget time with new staff requires additional training, additional equipment, things of that nature that we would normally have, you know, once we train a staff member, we may go 3 or 4 years before we have to retrain them on a certain subject again. You'll see in the 2026 that we'll be doing a pretty large training session for these new staff members. In 2026, we're looking at, for the Stanhope Municipal Airport, we're going to be continuing to look at the security fence around the tenants parking. As it's noted here, it's ongoing. Also, the automatic gate is ongoing, and the investigation into Hangar D is ongoing. These 3 items kind of run together. That's why they're still ongoing. Is that as we develop a plan to fix up Hangar D and get it back operational, we need to look at how the fencing and the gates come into play with Hangar D. So you'll see that come forward in the new year. The hangar roof repairs is still ongoing. The drainage is still ongoing. It is proposed that we're going to be doing 2 fly-in events this year, weather permitting. Purchase of a new food building for events. You'll see this come along from the committee, a request to purchase a food building to replace the current building that's there. A new updated revised development plan, an EOI for the lease of commercial building space. And the idea behind the EOI is that we would like to put out an EOI basically looking for if we build it, will you come? Type scenario. We would like to list the type of building that we have or that we potentially could be building, and then see what kind of traction we get. We do get a lot of people looking to lease commercial space, a large commercial space, Hangar D specifically, but none of it's, I want to say it's official. They come along, they say they're interested, but I think we need to have more in place. What are you going to be bringing to the area? What kind of business is it? Things of that nature. And I'd like to put something together that would specify that so that council has a good understanding of, we have 5 businesses that want to come here that, are ideal for our area. So I think the EOI will help with that.
Hang on just a second. Councillor Berry, you have a
Just
question?
clarification on EOI.
Expression of interest.
Yeah, thank you.
I just want to suggest that probably the best thing is to let each one of our staff go through their presentation and then ask questions after. So carry on.
Certainly, thank you. And then the HVAC replacement and upgrade, a new furnace and AC unit for the terminal building. Aggregate. So again, we'll be looking to screen and stack 8,000 tons of sand for winter operations. Site cleanup and restoration of the Braylock pit. Currently, at the moment, right now, we have completely cleaned up and utilized all the material on one section of the pit. So we would like to close that out next year versus waiting until we're completely done with the pit and trying to close it all at one time. So we'd be working in sections. And then surveying the property for future tree clearing for future aggregate use in the McClintock pit. Under buildings and facilities, so the ongoing projects are the accessible building plans for the Oxton Community Center, Stanhope Firefighters Community Center, and the Dorset Museum Storage Building. You will see council, I'll be bringing a report to the next council meeting that will show drawings for 2 of those projects for council's consideration. New projects, paving the rear apron of the Public Works garage. That was not in the initial project. So we would like to have a section of the parking at the back of the building paved. Building office space in the new Public Works garage for a mechanic. I'll talk about the mechanic here later on in my presentation. Increase insulation and air venting in the attic of the Stanhope Firefighters Community Hall plus Station 70. Accessible lift installation at the community center, Stanhope Firefighters Community Center. Right now we have an application out for funding on this. So we have not heard back from it yet, but hopefully soon. And then investigate security system for township facilities in collaboration with other departments. And what that looks like is a key fob system. Currently, the new Public Works garage is outfitted with a key fob system, and we'll be looking at putting that in other facilities. And then the continued development of the green burial space. Under fleet services, like I spoke earlier, we will be looking at putting out another tender for a new tandem with plowing and sanding equipment for 2027. We will be looking at replacing one lawn tractor this year, and then developing and implementing a comprehensive schedule for vehicle servicing and repairs. And that follows along lines of if a mechanic is hired, that would be one of the first projects that they would be looking into. And this would be across the township for all equipment and trucks. And then the surplus of any equipment that we're replacing. Under transportation, we'll be looking at the, for ongoing, will be the North Shore Road project, and then the increased parking at Big Hawk Lake Road. I have a report for Big Hawk Lake Road coming in December to discuss that further. Road projects, so we'll be looking at potentially doing a condition assessment to determine the PCI and the IRI of the road. This will help with any kind of funding that comes along. It also helps give us another idea of where our roads are sitting. We did one at our last roads need study, so we're just going to look at doing another one. Guide rail replacement on St. Peter's and North Shore intersection, and then the timber crib replacement on Bear Lake Road Bridge. As part of our OSIM, it was noted that the crib should be investigated and possibly replaced in 2026. So we'll be reaching out to a company to have them come and assess them again, and then provide details on tender specs and things of that nature to have them replaced. Under road surface treatment, we're looking at Walker Line, Buckslide Road, Windy Point, Harris, McClintock, West Clark, Derry, and Trading Bay. Please keep in mind that sometimes, although we put these in here as those are the roads that we're looking at doing, the season, the winter can dictate a little bit different in the spring on what roads we actually do. We try to stick real close to this list, but if it's a tough winter and a road takes a little bit more of a beating than another road, we may prioritize that. But overall, this would be the list of roads we'd be looking at. These lists of roads that are on here also align with our asset management plan. Under administrative staffing and training, so we're looking at proposing the hire of a new a new position, which would be a mechanic. Over the last couple of years, staff have worked with the CEO and our treasury department to look at what we're spending on equipment, maintenance equipment that has to be shipped out to other locations to have the repairs done to them. And we're proposing the hiring of a licensed mechanic to do the work in-house. Not all of the work on equipment and things like that can be done in-house, but majority of it we're proposing that could be done prior to it being sent out. So in the case of annual safeties, it would be the idea that our mechanic would do all the work ahead of time and then send it out for its safety. Could we get doing our own safeties down the road? Certainly, but that wouldn't be in the plan in the first 2 years. In addition, this would also allow other departments to utilize this mechanic. So it wouldn't just be solely for public works. That's where the scheduling and a maintenance plan for each piece of equipment would come in, so that we stay in line with keeping the vehicles and things like that in good working order. We're looking at continuing to hire 2 winter casuals. I always add that in here because it's something we do every year. Currently, we have 1 winter casual on schedule, and we're looking for another one currently. Continue staff training and education across all departments, and then exploring software solutions that improve efficiencies and customer service. So we're working with the digital coordinator on that and a joint project across the board. And that is the end of my presentation.
Thank you. So I have a few questions myself, but I think I'll open the floor to council for questions or comments. Who wants to go first? Deputy Mayor Dayu.
Thanks a lot, Adam. It's a huge load on your and your staff's shoulders, and you're doing a great job, so thanks so much. The bulk of my questions have to do with the Stanhope Municipal Airport, and one of them, at least, I think I would be more for Angie than you. It's more of a financing question than anything. When it comes to the hangar roof repairs, I'd be really curious to explore a loan rather than putting it on the levy. Something that we could pay off over 30-35 years, as long as it takes for the renters of those spaces to slowly pay off that through their rents, rather than it hitting the levy as an expense to the taxpayer. And I just wonder, is that something that could be explored or has been explored?
Go ahead.
It hasn't at this time. I would see that probably as I'm looking at the treasurer, probably as a debenture, similar to what we did with the new garage. But we can, if that's a direction of council, we can look into that.
Well, and we will have to investigate that or look at like total amount of debentures that we've got, because I think we're going to have to look at a debenture for North Shore Road, considering what it's going to cost. I do, just to add to those comments, have a concern that we have been using, for instance, for the tree clearing. Just as an example, we've been using the Airport Development Fund. And to me, it should actually be an operational cost, not what we would look at development. But I mean, that's a philosophical discussion that we should probably have at budget time. Anyway, continue on.
Yeah, no, I'm very much in line with that. And I was also wondering if, as we approach budget and as we approach what the development plan might look like, and I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are, where we are right now with that. I think it would be very helpful to receive a bit of a list of how many transfers into the Airport Development Reserve have we made, and then what have the transfers out been, for what reason have we been taking things out? I know there are some things like the Dorset Recreation Center. What a fantastic idea it was to borrow from that. But there are other things that for me are more maintenance oriented, along the lines of what you said. And it would be great to get a bit of a tally on where that money has gone, so we understand what's left and what's going to be coming back in. But it does segue into, would you give us a sense of your thinking for the airport development plan? For me, it's, I think, a big priority for this year. We've been talking about it for a while, and I'd love to see something concrete before the end of the term. I think it would be a great thing to really have achieved this term. So could you just give us a sense of your thoughts?
Yes, through you, Mayor. Definitely, we, as you know, that the development plan went out and didn't receive any bids back to revise it or to update it. I have been working with the CAO and a company to look at revising it and bringing it back to council. And we have received a proposal back on basically looking back through it, revising it, and bringing us a refreshed one. The CAO and I still have to go through that. But that's the plan for the development plan, is that we do have a company that's going to look at it. We just need to go through it a little bit more with them and then present the proposal to council. As far as the airport development, as the airport goes, from my perspective and from what I see being down there, I mean, we have land already right next to the airport runway that we can develop. So I know we have a development plan and we have the development area for the lots that are there. But we do also have land that's right within the airport with easy access. So the CIO and I have briefly discussed this as part of adding that to part of the development plan, because we've only ever looked at those 11 plots. But I think we have more room and more efficiency to get something up and going sooner than developing those. But that's still a conversation that we need to have with council here after the development plan comes back. So we certainly have been working on it, certainly thinking outside the box to try and get more development within the area. So stay tuned.
Yeah, and I guess my final one on the airport,
General Lake.
oh, thanks. Yeah, I guess my final one for the airport, at least, it's more of a comment than a question. I do appreciate the committee's interest in purchasing a new food building. For me, that's sitting in luxury territory at the minute. And we'll see, you know, as we go through the budget, what can and cannot stay, but for me, that's definitely luxury territory.
I will say that there is a meeting scheduled for tomorrow with the committee. That's one of the items that would be up for discussion. I know that they've got some ideas. And I will say that the airport committee does think maybe a little bit too far out of the box. But you know, they do have some ideas that some are, you know, cost more than others. And I have some specific thoughts on the viability of actually, you know, buying a unit, but you know, they have some thoughts on how we can go ahead with that without it costing too much money. So let's, you know, see what we come back with from the airport committee, but I don't disagree with what you're saying. Other comments on the rest of the Public Works?
Sure, I'm happy to.
You're on a roll.
Let's see. Right, increased parking on Big Hawk Lake Road. Would you just give us maybe a refresher on what your thoughts are? What do you think we can accomplish in the coming year?
Of course. So with the Big Hawk Lake parking, what we're looking at doing there, and this did come back to council in last year's budget, was that we would look at two options up there for parking. One is roadside parking and the other would be building a parking lot. So basically the parking lot idea was put on hold, and you'll see this in my report in December. It was put on hold because we were having discussions with MNRF about potentially purchasing Crown land to build a parking lot. We're very limited up there in the area that we can build parking lots, especially utilizing Crown land. The township does own property where we can build parking lots within vicinity of the log chute. And we've just basically, essentially, we have great ideas, but it's been put on hold until we can hear back from MNRF on Crown land. Roadside parking, like I said, I'll be bringing that to you in December. We have an engineer that has come in and they've done surveys and they have a design to create, I think it's roughly 85 parking stalls on the side of the road. Now, certainly, it does come with a heavy cost to build anything like this. So we need to weigh that against what a parking lot would look like. So what you'll see in December is the roadside parking design and costing. And then we'll go forward with the parking after that once we have more information.
Thank you, that's good.
Carry on.
Okay. Would you be able to give us a little bit more detail for the non-technical people in the room? The Bear Lake Road Bridge, it's the crib, what did you say, the timber crib? Is that structural, or is that just the like the timbers, the visible timbers on the side?
So it's the visible timbers that you
Okay.
can see. So if you are walking around the bridge or go underneath it with the boat, you can see that there are timbers on each side of the bridge. The bridge is tied into the bank structurally further on into the bank and the road, but there's timbers on the front side of it that help retain the material, so that because it's really steep there, it has to have some sort of retainment. And that's essentially what these are, is that it's retaining the material, holding it back, that's in front of where the structure of the bridge attaches to land. So that's all this is just replacing those timbers. It was noticed it was identified in the last two OSIMs, and then now it will likely be identified again. But what we are proposing is, if council approves it, that we would have all the work done potentially before the next OSIM.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, helpful. So it's not a big ticket item in the broader scope of the budget. It's a modest ticket item.
So in the OSIM, it was listed as a $65,000 or a $60,000 replacement.
Yeah.
I would take a guess it's closer to 100 by the time you're done with the actual project, the engineering, all said and done. I think we're going to be closer to the $100,000 mark. By the time we reach budget discussion, I should have the cost and proposed cost for all the engineering as well. So I'll have a better number at that time.
Okay, great. Do you want me to?
Carry on.
There, okay, yeah.
You know, unless somebody has a question, well, you know, I'm not sure. I think maybe just continue on with your questions and I'll give each member of council an opportunity to speak
Okay,
if their concerns haven't been covered.
sure. I'm just acknowledging these are probably similar to what others are thinking too, and I.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
But you're making me cross things off my list.
Okay. The accessible building plans for our community centers. I know we're, you know, keeping our fingers crossed that we can be shovel ready and get some grants in place, but you know, is there any scope for, or are you considering putting in the budget on the off chance we don't get a grant for anything, just getting started on some of the accessibility projects for at least one of our community centers? Because you know, it's as our population ages, I'm noticing more and more that people are really looking forward to those changes happening. I wonder how we can advance that a little bit.
Through you, Mayor, that I guess would be up to council's decision. For me, I'll be bringing you the designs that our engineer has provided us. Reviewed the designs. I think they look great. I think that we've asked for 3 options essentially for each building. Well, ideally, only one option from my review of them really makes sense. But at the end of the day, yeah, the idea is to have them shovel ready for any kind of funding that should come along. But that would be up to council if you decide that you would like to take on one of these projects and have it completed in 2026, then we'd be happy to facilitate that.
Okay, I'd like to consider that. It's a really important thing, as I say, especially for our aging population. So that'd be good to think about for sure. But I'm excited to see those designs. Yeah.
We'll have to see where we land with the budget that's delivered to us and, you know, what we can
Exactly.
afford to do or not.
Yeah. Mhm. And I guess my only other question at the minute is regarding the mechanic. I know that there are a lot of vehicles which are almost more driven by their electronics now than the actual mechanics, and even professional mechanics sometimes say, sorry, we can't do anything, we've got to send it to Mitsubishi or whomever to use their proprietary diagnostic tools to understand mechanics. And I'm just wondering how often, you know, our fleet, how often would it be that a new mechanic would just simply say, sorry, this just has to get sent out?
You know, that's a very good question. So through you, Mayor, it would really depend on the piece of equipment. So right now we have a mobile mechanic that comes to us. We also have the ability, and the county has pushed it out to us. They have a lot of diagnostic machinery that we could either take our vehicle to them or have one of them come over and basically run it through our machine or our vehicle to see what the problem is. In some aspects, they're able to say, yep, it's a sensor, and we order the sensor and replace it. Our mobile mechanic essentially can do that as well. But other things may have to go to a specialized mechanic. So back to the dealership, essentially. It will really depend on the type of breakdown. In most cases, recently, we've been able to have our mobile mechanic just come to us and run a diagnostic, tell us what the problem is, order the parts, and then he comes back and fixes them. So within the first year, I wouldn't want to just say, we're going to hire a mechanic and then we're going to ask for $50,000 in tools, because I can't justify what tools we need to buy right away. I would like to have the mechanic put in place, go through our same process. I wouldn't be calling a mobile mechanic to come and to do the work on our equipment anymore. But we certainly can utilize the equipment that the county has to diagnose a vehicle, and then our mechanic would fix that. And then we would slowly build a budget over the next year or two on purchasing some of the technical equipment, the computerized equipment to read our vehicles.
I know that the issue of mechanic is like top of mind for a number of members of council. So just if we could stick with that, I see Councillor Berry, your hand up.
Just in regards to the mechanic discussion, I'm just curious, talking about working with the county, is that something that the mechanic would have to be Algonquin Highlands Center? Could this not be something that each, is there any consideration for having a mechanic within the county that everyone could use? And that's one thought I had. The other thought I had was if we're buying more and more new vehicles, by having a mechanic in-house, would that extend the life of the vehicles that we have opposed to, you know, I know we have like a vehicle plan that we buy things in certain order, but by having an in-house mechanic with that extend that life. And then I guess the third sort of facet of that is, with new vehicles, are we not sort of committed to warranties within where we purchase them from?
Yep.
That's my thoughts around the new mechanic.
Yep. So through you, Mayor. So your first question is a centralized mechanic. So Dysart has their own mechanic. The county have their own mechanics. So we don't send our equipment to them because it comes down to prioritizing. They have their own equipment to work on. When we hire a mechanic, so the basis, what was driving this mostly is the amount of time and money we're spending on outside sources. So mechanics that run anywhere from say $100 to $200 an hour. So when we take our vehicle to somebody, we get charged $150 an hour for them just to look at it. Well, we're certainly not going to pay our own mechanic $150 an hour. So having our own mechanic, we will see the benefits of 2 staff members not driving a truck to Bracebridge and back to the dealership when the work could be investigated, most likely completed in our own shop. So we do see the financial efficiencies there. The mechanics at the county yard are amazing. They have helped us out in the past. But again, it's prioritizing whose vehicle goes in first. How long can we have a piece of equipment sit at another shop, waiting to be fixed? Our own mechanic can fix it right then and there, order the parts. We know exactly when we're going to get it back. Also, we can also have them go out on the side of the road and fix anything that our drivers can't fix legally. What was your second question? Sorry.
It's just in regards to like warranties and if we're buying new vehicles,
Yep.
are we bound to?
Yep. So warranty work under dealership. So if you buy a vehicle, I'm going to use an example of if you buy a vehicle from a Chevy dealer in Bracebridge, we can take it to Halliburton to a Chevy dealer because it's the same product. It's under the same roof. You're not designated to go back to the actual dealership you bought your vehicle from. So any warranty work would go to the dealership of any piece of equipment we have, whether it's they come to us, whether it's a Tormont comes to us and makes the repair, it's covered under warranty. So as soon as the warranty runs out, then our mechanic would be more inclined to get started on fixing those things. But we'd have a good relationship like we do now with these entities where we tell them the problem, they help us source it out, and then they come and do the work. So if it's warranty, it's covered for a mechanic to come to us or us take it to them. So as soon as the warranty's out, then we would take on more of a role of repairing them. And I think then your last question or your second question was extending the life of them. So although council has allowed us to have a more efficient life cycle with our equipment, before we surplus anything, we're always taking a look at it to see if we can get another year out of it. We're always looking at how does that look on our replacement schedule. So a lot of it has to do with if we replace it, say this year, we're going to get more money for it than if we keep it another year. So there's a lot of factors that come into play. Part of what I think is important to recognize is that when the mechanic is here and we can put a schedule together for maintenance, our own schedule, then we can stay on it. And I think the vehicles would be maintained very well. I wouldn't say any better than they currently are because we maintain them really well. It'd be in-house. We're saving money doing it in-house.
As to your question about, there being a centralized mechanic at the county, that's not something that's been identified for service delivery review at this point in time. They are looking at engineering services, but when you're starting to talk about things like a mechanic, you're sort of edging your way into the amalgamation discussions and how that would be handled. But yeah, an actual mechanic is not something that's really been discussed at this point in time. Councillor Shortreed.
You've already answered most of my question, but it sounds like, just to clarify, that by not having to outsource and staff time, a large portion of the salary would be saved. Is
Yeah.
basically what it boils down to.
Through you, Mary, that's correct, is that we see the efficiency just simply in the hourly rate that we're paying for equipment. And as you were asking that question, it made me think of an example. So this morning at 6 a.m., our trucks are ready. Our trucks are set up the night before. They're all pre-done. They're put in a state of readiness. 6 a.m. the next morning on a plowing day, a brake chamber goes on the vehicle. Our staff legally are not allowed to change a brake chamber on a tandem dump truck. Therefore, now that truck is out of service until we can get a mobile mechanic to come to us. So then we're looking at, our mobile mechanic is great. He's a great guy, great business. He's very efficient with us, but he's also tied to other things as well. So we could be anywhere from an hour to 3 hours before he can get to us. And then that's the efficiency that we lose, is now that truck is no longer on the road. Now we have to get another truck, and our roads are, so you can see the progression of a failure here, where we see a mechanic of our own can be on site. That truck breaks first thing in the morning. They're there to replace it. The truck's back on the road immediately.
On the issue of a mechanic, I mean, I could definitely see where the savings that we would realize from hiring a mechanic. I was concerned about, similar to your question, Deputy Mayor Dayu, about electronic, the electronic aspect of the work, and, if we would have to start to buy equipment. I'm really happy to hear that, that we do have a good relationship with the county, and that they've got a lot of the equipment that we might need to use in that regard. Two questions about the mechanic. I've got to say, I'm a little bit disappointed in the fact that we are now planning, if we agree to hiring a mechanic, planning an office in a space that we've just completed. Like, where do you propose for this office to be if we hire a mechanic?
Yeah, so in the shop itself is quite large, and we have enough room in one section of the shop to build a small office for a mechanic. So the engineer that worked on the project is aware of this possibility. So they've offered to design the room for us. So if council so chooses, that we would be able to get them to design the room, we would know the costing and everything like that for budgetary purposes. As you know, like when we build these buildings, we never had the thought process, I guess, of hiring a mechanic at the time. But as we move on and things happen and of that nature, we did design this building to be large for future expansion. Not so much expansion of the building, but expansion of public works. So within the garage bay, we have the ability to build an office.
My other question is, would we need to acquire a vehicle for the mechanic?
No.
I definitely see the value in what you're suggesting, and, I look forward to hearing the numbers that come forward in our first budget deliberations. I see Councillor Richards has her hand up, and then Councillor Barry. Go ahead, Councillor Richards.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a couple of comments. I can appreciate why we'd be looking at a mechanic. But in hearing that, there's already mechanics at the county and Dysart, and I understand it's not a part of the service delivery review process, but maybe it should be. So hopefully, we can maybe look towards that, because I could see that as being a great efficiency throughout the whole county. And then my other comment is actually on the airport. I like that you put in for expressions of interest for business development. Being that the development plan has been stalled for so long with the lack of interest in giving us a plan, maybe we can feed the development plan better with having actual expressions of interest from the community as to what they would be willing to commit to, and then being able to plan from there. Because it seems to me like that's part of where it's fallen apart before, in that a consultant can come up with all of this what could be done there, but then there's nobody that wants to do that there. So having the community drive what they want to do or what they're willing to do, I think is a really great idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Berry?
I do support similar to what Councillor Richard said, I do support the expression of interest to see what is actually being desired as far as needs, and especially as we talk about developing the greater area surrounding the airport, I can see that feeding into it as well. Just back to the vehicle or the mechanic. I'm just wondering, we have the discussion about the mechanic, the office, tools, electronics, that type of thing. Does that also involve like basically building like a lift and a bay or something for said mechanic? I'm just wondering what the other incidentals would be with that position.
Through you, Mayor, no, so we built this new garage to accommodate a lift or accommodate what we call a sick bay. But both of our garages, the Kawagama Lake and the Stanhope, and the renovated garage also provide the space that if the vehicle needs to be repaired, depending on the type of repair, it can be either repaired there or it comes to the shop, gets work done on it, and then goes back to its location. So if a dump truck in Kawagama was broke down, the mechanic would go to the Kawagama shop and work on it. We wouldn't bring it down here to have them take up a bay, if you will. A lift, I mean, certainly, we're talking about efficiencies of the mechanic and efficiencies of our staff. A lift certainly is an efficiency, but it's not something that was planned for right out the gate next year. I think the important thing is that what staff are looking at is reducing the amount of money that we're sending out to outside agencies by having our own mechanic, creating a service plan and a service schedule for all municipal equipment in the first year to understand what kind of work they're getting into. And then as the years progress, we would be looking at, yes, coming forward with, we feel the need that we have to purchase a lift and it would be installed in this shop. And this is the reasons why. Like anything we do, we would have to come forward with some kind of presentation and some kind of proposal of why we need it. But definitely not within the first year. The idea is just to get the mechanic here and get looking at everything and putting together plans for the future.
Any other questions on Adam's presentation overall? Councillor Berry, and then Councillor Richards, did I see your hand?
Just in regards to the winter casual operators, is this strictly going to be casual, or would this then extend into having eventually a full-time job? Like often you'll see requests for a summer and a winter to merge into being a full-time job. I know there's been movement within the department. I just wonder, is this just for the winter or would this be a longer term employment?
At this point, it's just for winter operations. The winter casual worker is set up so that it's just weekends, or if a staff member is going to be off for any length of time. So currently it's just set up now to have them come in. They're part of our winter schedule. So the staff members have been given a schedule for them for weekend work, and they're just part of that. So it allows for more staff to have that work-life balance. In the future, there's no plan at this point to hire more full-time operators for winter or summer operations. With that being said, if an opportunity comes up for, student placement or a co-op or things of that nature, we would certainly entertain that at that time. But no, this isn't designed to hire staff so that we can build a case to hire them full-time. No.
Councillor Richards, did I see your hand up? Okay. The only other question that I have or concern that I have is, both you and the CAO have heard me kind of hammer on a little bit about Hangar D and, where we are with that. So I would really look for an update on where we stand, from a liability or legal perspective. And just ensure that if it's decided that we go ahead ourselves with Hangar D, to make sure that that's a consideration, that we have some numbers to look at when we get into budgeting.
Certainly, and if I may, so we have had an engineer come in and take a look at the building. We met with them last week. The project manager, myself, and the airport coordinator all met, and we went through Hangar D and the thought processes behind it. We've had numerous conversations with our CAO as well about some options of what we can do with Hangar D to fix it up and get it back up and running again. So as soon as the engineer brings back those plans, he's going to put a proposal together. We'll obviously have to present that to council to move forward, and then 3 plans would be brought forward with recommendations of how we can fix that that hangar up, and then move forward with it. So
That's good to hear, because I mean, we all know that there have been some expressions of interest about about that particular building. And I'm a little bit concerned about the, loss of revenue that, it's just been kind of sitting there. Councillor Barry.
Final question, just in regards to 2 things I didn't see, and I just wanted to make sure they're still in the projects going forward. Is the log chute, is that still something that we're looking at forward? We've been given a,
That's addressed, I think, in Parks and Rec.
okay, it doesn't have anything to do with this department.
I suspect at some point in time it may have something to do.
not much public works doesn't have to do with everyone else, but no, it's all good collaboration. And I think when we talk about the parking lot at Big Hawk, it does tie into some of PRT and the log chute because of where the parking potentially could go. We can tie in some access points to the log chute in that project.
Okay, and then at some point, I don't know the financial cost, but there was some talk about having possibly a columbarium at the St. Peter's. Is that something that's financial into it or anything?
I think you might be referring to the Green Burial or St. Stephen's.
No, it's a general columbarium, and I think we looked at a couple of different locations, but that, I'm not sure if that would come through administration or, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So we will hear about that. And it is something, I think that there have been some options that have been looked at, so that will come back to us with some pricing. And any other questions for Mr. Thorne? Thank you. I know you've got a lot on your plate, a lot here for us to consider, and probably some gnashing of teeth before we're finished with our budget process.
Oh, not on my part. I appreciate everything the council offers to us as staff. And at the end of the day, it's it's a great place, and we really appreciate the work and the confidence you have in us. So thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Okay, I think that we will move forward with environment and stewardship. You gotta. Oh. You can smell something burning. It's my burning.
I do too.
Can somebody check that out?
Don, you stay. Go. Okay.
Not just you.
Good morning, Ms. Murray.
Good morning, Mayor and Council.
You have a presentation to make on environment and waste management.
Thank you. And just to start out, environmental business is the department, and just a lot of the projects and priorities tend to be focused around waste management, and I just want to express that other environmental issues certainly are not forgotten, and they're certainly a large portion of my portfolio. They just tend not to be at this time or projects. So just to put that out there in case anybody's worried that that they're not on the agenda, they certainly are. Primarily education focused at this time. So I just didn't want to have anyone thinking that we've missed out there. So I'm going to start out with 2025 projects and what we had planned and things that were completed, and that will be moving on to the 2026 agenda. I think we've all probably tired of hearing about circular materials and blue box transition. I had on my Christmas wish list that we wouldn't have to talk about it anymore and that all contracts and issues would be settled by December 31st. But I suspect there still may be a couple of outstanding issues to come.
Well, and I will say kudos to you because it's a very, very complicated, at least it looks to me like an extremely complicated process. And
Yeah, surprisingly so. And there's just been so much discussion and changes and ongoing, you know, issues and it's been a process. So there is a change, a request that was required because our current agreement expires December 31st of this year. And we have received a change request and just going through, we've requested some amendments to that and hopefully, fingers crossed for our next meeting, I will have that change agreement for council consideration. So the one element that it won't be, well, probably won't be included yet is handling of non-eligible source materials. And that may be something that carries forward into the new year to have that addressed. There were some direction provided by the ministry and RIPRA to circular materials to provide an option for small sources, IC&I, they call it industrial, commercial, institutional, to blend with the eligible source materials. And there is a model that has been presented for that. They're just working on some of the details. And I think it's a good move on that will really be to the advantage for us here in Algonquin Highlands, where our quantity of IC&I material is very small, and to have an entirely separate system to handle that would be challenging, and we don't have a lot of options for those small businesses to manage their own materials. So that's some good news that's come forward there, and hopefully the details will be positive, and it's something we can look at adopting.
Just as sorry to interrupt you before you get into your presentation further, have we identified the source of the smell, and is there any concerns? Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
No worries. I have that I smell toast sort of thing. Hopefully that's not just me. There are new contracts and agreements for hazardous waste. These are with producer responsibility organizations for hazardous waste materials under the hazardous waste regulation. Some changes to that regulation also came into effect this year, as well as automotive materials, and those will be on my December agenda. So hopefully we'll have those contracts in place by the end of the year. I have to give my thanks to the Public Works Department. We've made a huge effort this year to get rid of some of our stockpiles of materials. We've had tires that have been hanging around for a few years at a couple of sites. So we've finally gotten those moved. We've had some challenges with getting construction and demolition material moved, and we've finally gotten those material stockpiles under manageable level. And it's been a lot of work and a lot of trucks going in and out. So that's been great to have that done. We did finally get the standby generator at the Dorset transfer station replaced, and with that, it was a good review of the solar power system there. Some unfortunate news with that: the company that manufactured the equipment that we have there is no longer in business, so we can't get replacement parts and service for that. That doesn't mean that we can't, there's repairs and things that can be done if needed. But there still are some challenges that we'll need to look at there. It is getting to sort of its end of life as well. So next year that's moving along to be something that we'll just do some more investigations for. We had a chance to do again in with the help of Public Works Department to do some site improvements. We did get a chance to replace the fencing at the Dorset Transfer Station. We have updated the signage. So in 2024, we updated sort of the site signage. In 2025, we've updated the bin signage. And hopefully by the end of the year, gate signage will also maybe not installed, but we do have that on order. So it is underway. There were plans to do some more site infrastructure improvements in 2025. They did rely in a large part to having those stockpiles of materials managed. So that's taken a little bit longer than anticipated. So that will move to being 2026 work. Reuse center improvements are sort of an ongoing project. We've identified that that is something that council and our site users are keen to see. So those will keep on. I'm just going to cover long-term storage is something we are in need of at Maple Lake, where we're handling. We have materials that are handling more quantities and that sort of thing. So there are materials that can't be stored outdoors. They do have to have covered storage. So that's there was a project in place for 2025, but that will move along to 2026. User or software, I'm going to just defer that to because it's moved on to 2026. It's something that's been in the works certainly, and we have had some progress on that. The McClintock site Crown land purchase is another of those projects that I wish we didn't have to keep talking about, but we did do this spring some soil sampling and some test pits for a new area that we were having to look at, not a new area entirely, but we had to shift sort of the plan for the trench development there because of some forestry interests in the area. And
I'm sorry, because of some,
there's a forestry leaseholder in that area.
oh, okay.
And there's an access road that's adjacent to the site. And so in consultation with the ministry, they brought that company in, and they just requested that they have clear access to that road and the landing area that it leads to, which required us to shift our plan a little bit. And we're just working with the ministry on revising that plan, and hopefully we'll have that by the end of the year. And last on the list there, waste management bylaw review, which has been ongoing now that some of the regulatory changes as far as Blue Box have come fully into effect as of January 1st. That will be reflected in that bylaw. So that will come forward in the new year. And I just wanted to give just a quick overview, sort of the priorities as far as the environmental department, and just to trying to keep them in line, obviously, with the strategic plan. These are a little bit beyond the scope of the strategic plan, but just wanted to outline sort of where the focus is. And I know if environmental stewardship, that's directly from the strategic plan. And that's primarily on, waste diversion and waste reduction, and, ensuring we're obviously running all our sites in compliance with regulations and our environmental compliance approvals. Operational excellence, which is actually the service excellence element of the strategic plan, but also incorporates a little bit more as far as the actual operation of our sites and ensuring that they're operating efficiently and using the best resources we can and have the best user experiences possible there. And then innovation and collaboration, while not a highlight in our strategic plan, it is woven certainly throughout our strategic plan, and that's looking at some of our digital initiatives and collaborations. I'll move on to our 2026 project plans. At the top of the list, assessing a hazardous waste depot option. I think, from our survey that was completed, a resident survey, and the challenges and costs associated with events, I think it's a good opportunity to look at that. And in 2025, I did bring to council the option for a mobile depot. That's maybe morphed a little bit and looking at some other options. There's advantages to having a permanent depot, and just as far as providing better service to our residents, there's potential to lower our costs and increase opportunities for diversion. It has some challenges, certainly, as far as staffing and infrastructure for it, and approvals, but I'd like to bring that forward and have that for council consideration. And not to replace events entirely, but to supplement our event services. As I mentioned, 2025, the enacting a new waste management bylaw that will come forward. And I think it's always on my project list is to promote organic waste diversion, and that's primarily education and initiatives surrounding that. So that's something I know the Environment and Stewardship Committee is vested in and has some great ideas and plans for. And we'll keep looking at new opportunities that might come forward with that. But that the project idea is just to keep that moving forward. Develop and implement a waste auditing strategy. That's something that council had expressed interest in, and that's just to have better metrics as far as what waste we're generating and how it's with the diversion options that are available for there. So there are certainly companies who specialize that, and looking at that and seeing if there's an option for working with, doing training, and what the options are for Algonquin Highlands. We have done a waste audit. It was done many years ago, though, so a bit out of date. And this would be the opportunity to see if our actual waste generation is in keeping with sort of what other communities are seeing, and maybe part of that is to look at, is this something that needs to be done on a more regular basis? As I say, completed or carried over from 2025, it would be to complete the storage area at Maple Lake. On their loading area pads, and that's primarily for our construction and demolition waste receiving areas. So currently, there's no sort of infrastructure for that. Waste is received just on the site and then managed through Public Works, with equipment to stack and pile that. We are seeing a lot of degradation of the site because of it. That's not new, it's always happened, but we haven't ever had the opportunity to have infrastructure to handle that. So because we were working on active landfill, at Maple Lake and at Dorset, there was always some consideration for the fact that that is a closed landfill and whether there might be settling and that sort of thing. Both of those sites now, with the operations center at Maple Lake and Dorset having been closed for 10 years now, it's the time that that site is now stable. Maple Lake has the opportunity for some infrastructure. So this is just looking at a loading pad area that would be a hard surface that can be kept clear and clean. It would improve the service that we're offering. It would certainly help to keep materials out of our site, like getting buried in the site, and also keep soil from getting into our materials. So essentially, hopefully our disposal costs could be reduced a little bit because materials wouldn't be incorporating that soil that's a lot of weight. So it would also allow, make the management of materials a little bit easier for staff and hopefully reduce our equipment time on site as well. And continuing with the land acquisition process with McClintock, the hope is that we'll have a report and a plan in 2025, and then in 2026, the plan would be to move forward with surveying the property and hopefully plan to purchase that, and that would obviously come back to council. for
We've been talking
consideration.
about that for a long time.
I was just, and I said, if it's 10 years, it's been more than 10 years. This has been 10 years since the current, sort of state of things has been ongoing. And I would say that's about 2 years of work on behalf of the township, and the other 8 years is been, waiting for ministry direction, feedback,
Mhm.
advancement. So it's been a struggle, and I certainly hope we seem to, get a forward momentum, and then things stall, and we're sort of left in limbo a little bit, and I'm hoping we can get over that hurdle and finally get to the final stage of.
You are not alone in hoping to get over that.
And I have to say, it's been through no lack of effort on many parts. Our consultant, KB Mink, has been fabulous in trying to keep that on track. And the ministry has been doing, what they can to try and escalate the process a bit, and getting the staffing level at their end moved up a bit. So we're
I'm
getting there.
not sure I have a lot of confidence in that. Sorry, but you're going on too long. Anyway, sorry.
This spring, we were making great gains, and we seem to have stalled a little bit, but I don't think that momentum has been lost. I think that the ministry, just like us, is keen to have this process completed. So. And launching a digital user ID card system, and transitioning records and data capture to a digital format, again, have been in the works, and been working on those through 2025. The support of our digital transformation coordinator has been wonderful, and given some guidance and insight, and I think that will be the key to getting this process off the ground and getting those in place. And so my thanks to council for support of that position, and I think it will be a great help in getting that, and I hope to have that back to council soon. And that's the end of my projects, and happy to address any concerns, questions.
Questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Diane.
Thanks a lot, Melissa. I just have one question, and I'm not actually sure if I should be directing it to you, or, if this is within your wheelhouse. Our corporate climate action plan, we're now into the midterm of our short, medium, and so we're now into the medium term of our short, medium, and long-term targets and hopes and expectations. And I'm wondering if this year we might see like an overall how we're doing, because we've got some really interesting targets here. Some of them have to do with facilities. We've had some amazing facilities changes recently. We've improved our fleet. You've done awesome stuff with waste, and you have more information now. I just wonder if that might come back to us.
Certainly that's, something we can, discuss. I know with the loss of the climate change coordinator at the county level, some of that momentum is lost, and I certainly would, be in consultation with the county as far as, where that is at the county level. But yeah, certainly, that plan it was a lot of work, and it was a great plan, and so I'd hate to see any of that action lost.
I think we do have our own initiatives that we need to discuss, but I know that the new planner that the county has hired, the climate change is under her portfolio. So it might be a optimum time to have a conversation with them as well, just to sort of see what their plan is going forward. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. I think my question though it was directed to the Algonquin Highlands chapter, the one that this council signed off as being our commitment, which isn't necessarily dependent on county.
Thank you, through Mayor. I absolutely we could get that.
You absolutely, I'm sorry.
Yes, I think that's certainly something we can look at. putting a report together to update.
Okay, good. Counselor Barry.
Seeking clarification on the permanent storage area at the Maple Lake dump. I'm not quite sure what that means.
And through Mayor, just to have a covered storage area. Again, with that site now being in a stable and permanent position, it gives the opportunity to have something that's as opposed to currently we're using a tarp structure, and so it'd be nice to have something that's a little more hard and permanent there.
Any other questions for Melissa? Seeing none, thank you very much. Continue on with the good work.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
And I think maybe we'll take a 15-minute break. Welcome back to our special meeting to discuss projects and priorities. And next up is Parks, Recreation and Trails. Good morning, Mr. Guard.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Just waiting for my screen to catch up here.
Have we lost Councillor Richards?
Can you see me?
We cannot see you. So if you've got a question, I'm not going to be able to acknowledge. There you are.
Okay,
Proceed.
thank you.
We're waiting with bated breath. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and good morning. And just to echo the sentiment of previous staff, thank you very much for a fantastic year and all the support over this past year on behalf of myself and the staff within the department. And also a thanks from me to everyone who's been involved in all departments, as well as the staff within my department for an excellent year. And we're certainly looking forward to the new year. As always, this is a humbling process, and that I have a tendency to always feel like I have one more thing to do or I'm falling a little bit behind. But when we get to put these lists together, it really is amazing seeing all in one place what we're able to pull off in a year. So it's gratifying at the same time. You can go to the next slide, please. So we'll start with an overview of our 2025 projects and priorities, and a beautiful picture of viewpoint from the crest of Kinesis Trail there. Next slide. So starting out with our special projects, we were able to complete our resident and non-resident fees review, and we'll be implementing that as recently directed by council at the start of the new year. And of course, ongoing is our parking master plan with our first meeting coming up on December 11th. Moving into parks, we were able to complete a number of fantastic projects. Our swing set and accessible pathway is completed up at the Oxtongue Lake Community Center, and things are looking just spectacular there. Lighting upgrade on the exterior of the Dorset Ice Palace change rooms to LED. Our entranceway decking at the Dorset Ice Palace, as well as the replacement of the stairs at the Stanhope Park Equipment Shed. And then ongoing is stone steps repair at the log chute. Next slide, please. So the Dorset Tower, a lot of things going on at the Dorset Tower this year, and a lot of great success with the projects there. We were able to complete our lightning strike protection system as well as our structural improvements. And I'm happy to report that after the end of last year, where we figured out that we needed to increase budget based on our initial round of tendering, we were able to do it for significantly under budget. We were expecting around $200,000. We brought it in at $57,000. Extension of the security fencing at the entrance to the tower structures completed. We did repairs and replacement of the railing on the Peekaboo Rock stairs. We repainted all of the parking lot lines. We increased our traffic control staffing on weekends for fall colors right through to the end of the season, just based on demand. And that worked out fantastically, and will continue to do so. Upgraded our storage container systems for refuse in between pickups up at the tower. And a big project that we've realized is just, and this was the point of it, a lot more efficient for how we handle business at the towers. We updated our gift shop point of sale hardware, so we have everything on site at the tower now moved over to a new software and hardware system. Ongoing items, and actually this is something that we just completed last week in conjunction with the Public Works Department, is installation of the gravel pathway linking the gift shop to the tower. And this is an accessible gravel pathway as well. Replacement of the storage building. So that's something that council will see as part of next year's projects as well. But we've gotten through essentially we're working through the electrical work associated with that project. We're just bringing that to a close as the year ends, and next year we'll be actually replacing that storage building. This is the small storage building that's just next to the gift shop. A development of costing structure for the co-locates on tower for cellular and internet companies. So that's for essentially annual rental fees for those companies. It is an ongoing item that council will see continuing on into next year. Going on to equipment, we just had one pickup truck to replace this year, our 2017. So we were able to do that, and we're in the process of surplusing the existing one. We were able to still utilize that truck throughout the year. In recreation, a fantastic volunteer appreciation event, the wine and cheese event at the Dorset Recreation Centre. And then ongoing, which as council's aware, we have open right now for everybody's input, is in community engagement on the new Christmas tree designation for the Dorset Lions Park. In trails, our installation of a gate on the Margaret Lake Road access to the Frost Center ski trails is completed. Next slide, please. And ongoing items that we weren't able to complete is the review of the Beetle Lake Trail, the review of Adopt a Trail program, as well as doing some parking improvements at some of the campsites along the Sherbourne Road, both at Plastic Lake and campsite number 124. In training, I was able to recertify my Wilderness First Responder certification. And then big one for this year is projects and docks and landings. One ongoing item is the repairs to Raven Lake Landing retaining wall. We have a contractor in place to do that work, and that's forthcoming. We were hoping that the weather holds out to get it done before the end of the year, but if not, it's going to end up being pushed into the spring. The Russell Landing Rehabilitation Project is ongoing right now and coming along fantastically. The retaining walls themselves will all be complete within the coming days. The parking lot portion of it being the grading and the stairs access, based on the weather, is looking at this time like it may need to be moved into spring, but the main portion of the job being the retaining walls will be complete. Fletcher Lake Landing design work is ongoing. We're working through that process right now with our consultant, and our intention is to be able to tender that early spring as the ground thaws for a fall construction project next year. And now getting into our 2026 list of projects and priorities. So in special projects, bringing to completion our parking philosophy plan, finalization, and anything that comes from, and the next steps that comes from that. And these are items that are identified, of course, within our strategic plan. And I'd like to get into the Parks, Recreation, and Trails master planning process this year. In parks, proposing a lawn renovation at the Oxtongue Lake Community Center green space, and I'll just explain what that means a little bit. We have over the life of this project been doing small incremental improvements to what is essentially kind of a brown gravelly lawn area, with the intention of improving it into a nice lawn with some green space now that we have the rest of the park amenities upgraded. And when we were putting in the swing set this year, we were able to take some of that material and level out some of the low areas throughout the rest of the property. And at the same time, we had a budget to do some topsoil and seeding on the lawn. And as we went through the project and we put our heads together between Public Works and the project manager in looking at how we could best bring that lawn up to speed to how we'd like to see it, would be to do a peel back of the entire top layer of the lawn, put soil on top of it, and then seed the entire thing. Save the money that we had put in the budget for this year, move it into next year's budget with a little bit more with that in mind. The log chute structure project, so council will see as we finalize a report from our engineer where things stand and some recommendations for the log chute. We were able to get a water shut off at the log chute. We had the engineers on site and they were able to do a full assessment of the entire structure. And right now we're just waiting to see a report with recommendations back from them. So as soon as we have that, we'll be bringing that back to council, and then that will inform any decision making for what we want to do with that going forward.
Any notion as to when that might take place or when we would get the report back?
I don't have an exact date. As soon as possible, I would anticipate like by between now and January. We would get a report back from them in draft form. Usually there will be a back and forth on that before we finalize it, and then be able to hopefully bring it to a council meeting in January to be able to inform next year's budget. Log chute interpretive signs panel replacement. So these are the panel signs in the interpretive pavilion. Not all of them need replaced, but there are a few of them that just based on how the sun hits them, they've just naturally met the end of their life. So we'd be replacing those like for like. And then the Indigenous Garden at the Tapscott Lopez Park. I have just very recently received an updated proposal from our consultant at Four Directions Consulting. And I'm reviewing that, and we'll be bringing that information back to council to finalize for going ahead with that process.
Because this 2026 is kind of our deadline for that project, I believe. Did we not agree that we would do it within a specific period of time?
Yes, the agreement outlines we had 3 years.
And yes, you're correct. The intention is that would facilitate that timeline. We've had several back and forths on the proposal from them. Depending on what we're looking at, it's costing has moved around, and I've got it to within the area that we want to have it as far as the proposal goes. And I just have to have one more back and forth with them before I can bring it back to council. But they're fully aware and committed to the intention of having that process completed for next year. Yep.
I'm sure council may have some input that they want to have into that.
Absolutely. And that will definitely form part of the project. Next slide, please. Up at the Dorset Tower, so the replacement of the storage building and just an image rendering of what I'm talking about there beside it when we're talking about that storage building. Just a simple place to be able to put materials on site, including those for the gift shop. Electrical upgrades on the tower structure. So as council's aware, we've gone through the process of developing what that project is, and the next step right now is just finalizing the tender. And as we finalize that tender, it's likely at this point looking like a tender process in the spring with construction happening in the fall. And the intention there would be able to do it after the closing of the tower. Finalize the development of costing for the structures or for the co-locates on the tower for the cellular and internet companies. the renovation of the concrete footings on the tower structure. So this is something that was identified as part of our biannual inspections of the structure. There's hexagonal shaped concrete footings at the base of the tower, and they just need maintenance at this point and repairs. Accessible ramp installation at the tower gift shop. Peekaboo Rock fence replacement. So this is the fence that when you go down to Peekaboo Rock is actually kind of the safety barrier for where it comes to the cliffside there. And the Peekaboo Rock stair replacement. So as we got into the project of replacing the railing on the stairs that go down to Peekaboo Rock, we identified some needs for the replacement of the actual stair treads, and that would cover that. Next slide, please. Moving on to recreation. So we have a need to replace a treadmill this year. Sounds like a relatively small thing, but commercial level treadmills can be quite costly when we're looking at various options. So I thought it was worth listing here. And then our basketball net replacement and upgrade at the gymnasium. This is something that this past year I identified that we needed to replace our basketball nets. They've just come to end of life, the backboard system. And as we've got into that process, we've realized that, of course, with new standards, there's engineering requirements, et cetera, and the existing ones don't fall within that. So if we're replacing the backboard, put in a whole new system. So it moves into a larger project than what I had anticipated at the start of the year. So I've got costing to be able to propose that in the budget for next year. The enhancement of the volunteer appreciation event. So what this means is in discussions earlier in the year, council had discussed the desire to look at including the firefighters in the volunteer appreciation event. So we'd look to do that. So that will be increasing costing to have them attend. And also if we could, I'd like to look at costing to provide some entertainment at that as well and just build on the event, whether that be some live music or like a motivational type speaker. Those are the two types of directions we're looking at this time. Review and develop a community event sponsorship program. So council recalled earlier discussions in the year about looking at that model where community groups would be able to come to the township and apply for funding to create community events. So I'd like to really dig into that and have that discussion with council this year and hopefully be able to develop and refine a program. Review and develop the community leadership model at the Oxtongue Lake Community Center. What I'm referring to there is having a look at the possibility of having community groups running the Oxtongue Lake Community Center and what that would look like. And then moving on to trails, replacement and installation of railing on the walkway of the Crest of Kinesis Trail at the log chute. This past year, council would recall, we replaced the stairs going from the dam up onto the Crest of Kinesis Trail. The next phase of that is to do the next section of essentially that boardwalk above it. That would be the railing leading up onto the hill to get onto the hiking trail proper. And then doing our parking improvements at our campsites along Sherbourne Road at Plastic Lake and campsite number 124, which is down near Sherbourne Lake. For water systems, proposing the replacement of the well pump and pressure tank at the Dorset Recreation Center. This is something that I'm proposing as a proactive measure, just given the use and the importance of that system. We know the age of that pump and tank is reaching what is generally the timeline that we see failures happen, and we've had that happen at other locations. So I want to look at what it would take to replace that proactively, just so we never end up in a position of having to do it mid-year and result in a facility closure. In docks and landings, our Fletcher Lake Landing Rehabilitation Project. So again, we're just going through that process now to be able to get us through design and tender. Tender happening in the spring to allow site reviews after the spring thaw, and then likely a September, October construction timeline. And then the next landing on the list as far as the asset management plan goes for those that are listed as the end of life is the Crozier Lake Landing. So what I'm suggesting there is the discovery process for that, which would be the community questionnaire, our land survey, and starting going down the path of identifying what that project would look like from that information. And then I'd like to bring information back to council on prioritizing the remaining landings after that, because we're now reaching a stage where we have a number of landings that are at the same level essentially. So having that discussion, which ones we want to prioritize.
Well, and I just, one of the questions that I would have asked later on, I might as well throw it in now, is that do you think that because of the concerns that we've had over low water levels and some of the, the calls for repairs, has that changed what you see as our priorities for docks and landings?
It should factor into the consideration, yes, because there are a couple of places that I think are relatively simple fixes when we're seeing major water fluctuations. One thing we identified, and I was talking to Public Works about this as we were able to do some repairs and maintenance when water got low, is that there's a couple of spots that if we just are able this year to budget some aggregates and budget to have some essentially like concrete slabs on hand, when that opportunity comes up in the fall, we'll be able to just do some minor work at some of those locations right then. So I'm going to be proposing that. And then considering those water levels, absolutely, when we're looking at the overall list. I think that when we look at this list, a number of them are smaller projects than what we've been handling over the past few years after we get past Crozier Lake. So it may be possible to do several at a time. We'll see. And then equipment, our 2018 pickup truck would be up for replacement. And that just leaves us with staff training. So some load securement for our staff. I'd like to send, we have a whole new trails team. I'd like to send some of them to a sustainable trail building certification program. Our playground inspection process, we have some new staff associated with playground inspections and maintenance, and they require that certification. Same for our water system operator, same consideration. And then the High Five certification, which is something I'm looking at for our recreation coordinator, as that's a certification for professionals involved in developing programming. And what we'd like to look at is certifications and principles of healthy aging. So developing programming for older adults, which is by and large our largest demographic in our programming. And then that just leaves us with a beautiful fall photo of the shorelines of Nunacani Lake and questions and comments.
And it is a beautiful photograph. I would look to council for questions. Because you're a little bit harder to see, Councillor Richards, I wonder, do you have any questions or comments that you want to make about Parks, Rec and Trails?
You know what? I had a whole bunch of things, but Chris's presentation answered quite a few questions. So that's good. I am wondering about the costing for the co-locates on the tower. And if you think that we'll be able to see something in time for the budget process this year. And then Like, how quickly are we able to update costing to the providers that are utilizing that service of ours?
And through you, Mayor, unfortunately, I won't be able to have something prepared in time for budget this year. Now, our current contracts with our major providers there have several more years in them as it is. And what I'd be looking at reviewing is costing updates when those contracts renew. The challenge I've run into is I had hoped there were some comparators that I could look at, and I had been in contact with Eorn about that, and there hasn't been the type of information to inform that decision-making process that I hoped there had been. Essentially, there's no common model. So that brings me back into essentially just coming up with something myself. And that's as far as I've gotten, and that's the next step.
Any other questions, Councillor Richards?
Nope, I'm good on Parks and Rec.
Okay, thank you. I look to the rest of council. Comments, questions? Deputy Mayor Dayu.
Thanks a lot, Chris. I've got one general question and then a couple on Oxtongue and a couple on the Dorset Tower. The general question is, could you remind us, the Parks, Rec and Trails Master Plan, are you going to be revisiting recreation committees or some variation thereof? And is it also a moment to sort of consider our strategy on the swimming program, which is popular from a participation standpoint, but we've had difficulty staffing. So will those two be part of the plan?
I would like the Parks and Rec Master Plan to be something that is comprehensive, looking at all of the aspects of what it is that we do. And it would be worth identifying at the same time that we have had and have a desire to continue to have committees. If that's something council wants to include within that planning process or as a separate item, I'd certainly be happy to do either or. I can't see why it wouldn't align. Yeah, absolutely. And then for the swim program, it would look at all programming opportunities. And I'd like to have portions that we do community surveys and consultation sessions with the community, and a plan that really looks at what we have now, how we compare to other locations, what we can expect for future needs, identify what council hopes to have in the future, what staff hope to have in the future, what residents hope to have in the future. And it would include things like the swim program. At the same time, we need to identify issues that happen that affect those types of programs. And as you know, the issue has been staffing. And interestingly, again, year over year, I was at the Parks Rec Ontario Forum just 2 weeks ago, and it's an industry-wide issue. Every swim program across the country is talking about the challenge of qualified staffing, and they're all running into the same issues. All we can do really is, I guess, hope that we can have somebody apply. But at the same time, I also think you can identify as part of a plan, here's what we've tried, here's what's not working, and do we now want to take that money, that time, and that space, and what do people want to see there? And then look at those opportunities.
Yeah, great.
Just a comment about, the master plan. I would hope that you would be able to incorporate the survey that was done by the Recreation Committee a while back, because there were some absolutely fabulous thoughts and ideas included in that, which we haven't really been able to follow up on. So hopefully you'll give that consideration as well.
Yes, and through you, Mayor, what I see typically with master plans is reviewing any information that already exists and any surveys that have already been done, and that would be part of it. Yep.
Other questions? Go ahead.
Great. A couple on Oxtongue Lake. Having never seeded a lawn before myself, do you think we could avoid disruption of Canada Day? Like, would you see it being done early in the spring or after Canada Day, or does it have to land smack in the middle?
Well, definitely the best time to do it would be early spring, but recognizing that we have the Canada Day event, I'd like to do it as close to that afterwards as possible. I would not want to affect that event.
Right, that'd
Yeah.
be great, yeah. But, and so you can do it after without.
Yeah,
Okay.
it creates, like in general, once you get into that portion of the summer, it's drier.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to do more watering. That's the outcome.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Another short question on Oxtongue Lake. Last year, I think we talked about having a solution to the key at the community center so that renters could get in without having to drive anywhere to pick up the key. Any progress on that, or do you think that's something that we could achieve in the coming year?
There has been progress on that, and in conjunction with IT, there's some things that they had recommended that they have in place in some other buildings around the county that they felt would be a good fit for this. And essentially, it's a Bluetooth activated key lock box that you're able to change the coding on from a software system on your phone or at your desk. And we've ordered that, and we're just waiting to pick it up. It's a very low cost solution, and we want to get it, put it through the rigors of testing before we release it. Hopefully it works. The thing we're uncertain about is just the connectivity for internet there, and we may have to solve that, maybe not. But if it works, that will be the solution.
Oh, that'd be
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, great. Thank you.
That's good news.
Really, really good
That'll make
news.
a lot of people happy.
And I have found the internet up there to be quite excellent. Often when other spaces around the lake are down, people just go and they park in front of the community center and yeah, so hopefully that's a good win and a good thing. Finally on Oxtongue, the Beetle Lake Trail. Yeah, it's one of those projects that would be great to do, but once you open Pandora's box, there are lots of things to consider. Where are we on that, and what do you think we can achieve in the coming year?
Sorry, through you, Mayor. Yes, and I know this has been something that's been ongoing on a list for several years, so I do recognize that. And really just relative to the challenges of other priorities that have continued to come up that we've had to weigh up against it. And what I hope to do next is just get through the process of having a discussion with council, presenting what's there and what the next options are. If that's a direction we want to go, then start costing that for future development. So the intention would be that we'd have that discussion, go through that planning process, obtain costing, and then that to happen this year in 2026. And then if it aligns with budget for 2027 implementation.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I think just a little bit of emphasis on that. That's been ongoing, or like sort of, it's been in the background for quite a while. And I think that there's, been a number of people who voiced some concerns and would like to see that go forward. So if we can just kind of hike that up a little bit on the list of priorities, that would be great.
Yeah, it's a well-loved trail in the area, which is really nice. Okay, so I just have a couple on the Dorset Tower, and
Go ahead.
then I'm done. A couple of years ago, we started a transition to going cash-free at the tower, and if I'm not mistaken, we started with, the gift shop, I think, or no, it was was at the gate we went cash-free. Would you just refresh my memory? Have we gone cash-free throughout, or are we staying status quo?
And through you, Mayor, we're staying status quo. Initially, I had recommended let's go cash free for a number of reasons. And at that time, council during that discussion wanted to still offer the option of cash, and that's what we're still doing. And what we do is at the gatehouse, it's cash free. If people only have cash and they need to pay that way to enter, we send them up to the gift shop. So the gift shop is the location where cash is stored and people are able to make cash transactions, and we'll continue to offer that there. I don't see a need to eliminate cash entirely. Eliminating it from the gatehouse has been very successful. It's created a lot of efficiencies and as well as security for staff that are there. And the number of cash transactions we get are minimal. And it's usually what we're seeing, either children who just have pocket cash or foreign visitors who are paying with cash. So it's a small percentage. And but the amount of cash we have to keep on site and move around, which was a security concern for me, is far, far less than when we were allowing it at the gatehouse. Yeah.
That's great. I'm pleased to hear that. That
Yeah.
it's nice to have that, that continue. Finally, I wonder if I could request when you're looking at the new storage building for the Dorset Tower, because it is a beautiful heritage site, it would be lovely if, if in keeping with a reasonable budget, if we could find a model of structure that has a bit of a heritage appearance rather than something that is, very, very flashy and modern looking. And I know you wouldn't choose flashy, but there are very modern structures out there. And if there is one that you almost wouldn't notice as a disruption from the heritage features on the site, I think that would be a lovely choice to consider if budget permits.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sure, and that sounds like a fantastic
Mhm.
idea. My intention would be to, at the very least, match the colors, which are the gift shop there. Is this something council would like to be involved in? That I bring something back? This is the building I'm proposing.
I think that, yeah, given the comments that, that Deputy Mayor Dayu has made, I would like to see what's being proposed. I know that there are different kinds of kits that you can get for, say, small log such structures, and maybe it's another possible shared project with the college, depending on when we want to go ahead. I think that the museum is next on the list for them, but I think there's a lot of different opportunities. And of course, cost will be an impact, but I know I'd sure like to see it. You done? Any questions, comments? The only other thing that I had to mention was that I just, of course, I'm very concerned and I'm looking forward to hearing what the report about the log chute has to say. I mean, you've heard loud and clear from a number of people that if there is any possibility whatsoever of saving a portion of it, that we'd like to do that. And, going ahead with the kiosk and explaining it, I think we might have to sort of see where we're at with the log chute before we replace that, because it might change the information that's on there. I just want to make sure that we've got some funds budgeted for anything that we might be considering there. It's an important site for us. It's a heritage or cultural site, let's call it. And, I think that we have to try and ensure that we don't lose sight of the cultural aspects of our community. If there are no further comments, thank you very much, sir. Good
Thank you.
information. We'll see how we make out at budget time.
Fantastic, and thank you again for a great year. Looking forward to the new year.
Next up, fire services. Welcome, Acting Chief Shelley.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. It's a pleasure to be here today to present 2026 projects and priorities. Just wait for the screen to catch up here. Perfect. Okay. So we can go to the slide 3 would be then. Okay. So we'll start with our mission statement. The Algonquin Highlands Fire Services is dedicated to protecting life, property, and the environment through education, prevention and emergency response. Okay. So 2025 projects in progress still. Continue to develop our technical rescue team, which will be ongoing for a few years yet. Relocate and enhance training props at the training ground. So huge thanks to Public Works who have relocated our 40-foot shipping container, which we use for our burn unit. We have had a new vehicle delivered there for automobile training. But there are still a few props left at the old training pit that will need to be moved to the new one. As well as our roof prop has seen quite a bit of use, so we'd like to look at the option at either repairing or replacing that. Expand use of iPads for records and response efficiency. So this year, 3 iPads have been purchased, and we're just looking at what we have for options to put them into the trucks and utilize them with cellular packages, and looking at various applications that will support a response as well as our paperless initiative. Continue exploring options for the new Station 60. Location is one of the major things we're looking at right now, where we put the new Station 60, preferably within our municipal borders. So just kind of looking at options as to what we have available, and if there is nothing available, is there anything that we can acquire, crown land or something?
Well, and I think we need to keep an eye on, property that comes up for sale, any vacant property that comes up for sale, any opportunities there,
Absolutely,
just as another option.
absolutely. I've actually seen quite a few examples of newer builds in the province, so I've been looking at what the rest of the province is doing build-wise for fire halls. And something that's caught my interest is the net zero concept. There's actually a few fire halls that have been built recently in the last few years that have went net zero. I don't believe that we would be incorporating all the net zero things to make a whole net zero building, but certainly some of the options out there are interesting and could benefit us. Also exploring multiple use opportunities, which could come with grants and funding. If there's a joint venture with EMS, if they happen to need somewhere up there and want to put a bay on, then there could be some grants available for that. I'd like to start speaking with our treasurer about contributing to reserves for this project. But I still believe that we're quite a ways out from actually putting a shovel in the ground. For completed, we've recently finished our Resilient Minds mental health course, which was a huge success. We had a great turnout and potentially would like to look at repeating that either in the new year or maybe every other year, depending on staff turnover and the need. Also completed, we've developed and adopted the fire master plan, as council knows. Upgrade nozzles on fire attack lines, and you'll see that in the coming year as well. Replace Station 60 front apron. That was another successful project. I'm not sure if council's seen the pictures or driven by, but it's beautiful. The lines look really good. And now we don't have the clearance issues we had with backing the trucks in and pulling them out. So that went really well. Improve ventilation in the Station 80 hose tower. When the tower was put in, or it may have been after, there was a spot put in for a fan at the top, as well as power was up there, and everything was ready, but the fan was missing. So the fan has been ordered, and all that needs to happen now is the fan just needs to be put in the hole, which may end up waiting till spring, because right now the hole is filled and that's perfect for winter. So we might end up waiting to do that for warmer weather. But everything is there and it's ready to be put in place. And that's going to help with the drying time of our hose and potentially even reduce the risk of mold in the building by getting that humid air out faster. Purchase a RIT kit for Station 80, a rapid intervention kit. which is, that's been completed. And that is a kit that a rapid intervention team will have with them in the event that they need to go into a structure or another situation to rescue one of our own firefighters. Hopefully, we never get into that situation, but we are equipped and trained to do so. Next slide, please. Okay, so continue firefighter and officer certification. Provincially mandated certification is not going away. We are successfully navigating the firefighter 1 and 2 and hazmat portion of those certifications with our countywide training, which has been amazing on many levels, not just training, but camaraderie and how we work together on scene. So I'm very happy about the collaboration we've had in the county with training. Improve insulation and drainage at Station 60. So as council's aware, we have recently replaced the soffit and fascia and the eaves troughs at Station 60. The insulation is very important next step to protect what we've done. Previous winters, we've had ice build up on the roof, and insulation will help mitigate that and protect the repairs we've already made. Upgrade the Station 60 training TV. So Station 60 and 70 both have wonderful training TVs with a computer attached, and I've utilized those for training on several occasions. However, Station 60 has an older TV and no computer attached, meaning I'd bring my laptop, which was fine. However, the sound has completely gone out on the TV, and there's a lot of crackling and popping during presentations and in-class training. So it'd be nice to be able to get them a proper TV to continue the higher quality training. Add insulation upgrades at Station 80. So similar to Station 60, I'm hoping that these insulation upgrades will reduce the cost of heating. Station 80 does tend to go through quite a bit of propane in the winter, so hopefully we can cut that down with some new insulation. The training room chairs, upgrade the training room chairs. So quite honestly, I'm not sure if they've been replaced ever since I started back in 2004. And with the amount of in-class training that happens at that station now, county-wide included, one of the major complaints I have and the students have is sitting in those chairs for a longer period of time, causing quite a bit of issues with back pain and that sort of thing. I think it's overdue and time to upgrade them to a chair with a little bit more padding. Okay. Sorry, I've just lost my spot. There we are. Upgrade cancer prevention, or is that upgrade? Sorry, enhance cancer prevention procedures. So cancer prevention is a huge thing in the fire industry, and we've made incredible strides forward over the last couple of years with how we care for our equipment, how we wash our equipment. So I'd like to continue down that road and formalize a decontamination policy and procedures to continue to protect our firefighters. Upgrade the lighting on the marine units. Again, the marine units lighting is not LED. So it's definitely past its prime, and we can do a lot better. And with the amount of calls that we're running water access, and with the new boat drivers we have, some appropriate lighting on the marine units is definitely going to be welcomed by our firefighters. And I don't believe that will be an expensive thing to do as well. Actually, after I did some pricing, LED lighting is not that expensive. Strengthen public education and fire prevention. We'd like to continue to seek out opportunities to attend local events and potentially host more events and information sessions at each station. Educate staff on new public education and fire prevention topics. As we go forward, there's always more information. Lithium batteries was one of the big ones just a little while ago that we've trained our staff on how to speak to the public about the lithium batteries that they may or may not have in their house. Again, continue to develop the technical rescue team. And this is where I'd like to speak about, we're getting, every course that we teach in-house has to be an approved course. Just like our firefighter 1 and 2 program and pump ops. All those courses, there's an application process and they're all approved. So to continue with our technical rescue team, I'd like to go through that process for these courses to get Algonquin Highlands approved to teach and certify our firefighters in-house. And that's going to be very important if we have firefighters want on the technical rescue team or leave the technical rescue team, and we need to train more staff to be a part of that. Purchase medical skid insert for station 70 UTV. So this is an excellent option now that we have a UTV. In previous years, as council knows, this is our first UTV. So the option we had before was pulling a rescue trailer. And if anybody's ever ridden in a trailer being towed by an ATV, they'll know it's unnerving. It can be tippy. You have issues such as exhaust and things like that. So this is purpose-built, slides into the back of the UTV and mounts down, and it has a spot for a medic or a medical attendant, plus our Stokes basket with patient. And that would all be in one package on the UTV, stable and safe. So now that we have a UTV, this option is far superior to pulling a trailer with somebody in it, multiple people in it. And similar to Public Works, I would like to replace the station door locks with key fob systems. I believe that's the future for us, and the benefits are significant, including not having to memorize door codes. And as we work more and more together, the 3 stations, this actually will help me a lot too, because I'm constantly getting text messages from other firefighters who forgot the door code to station 80 or station 60. So key fobs will allow their firefighters to have access to each station and not have to memorize a code. As well as if we have a firefighter retire, we don't have to change the door codes. We just have to deactivate their key fob, or they'll turn it in. If they don't, we'll deactivate it. Next slide, please. Replace roadside burning information signs. And I believe this is something that Dysart will be doing as well in Highlands East. Minden has already started down this road. As you're aware, and I'm sure everybody's driven past the signs, they have a high, medium, and low rating. So the question that we get often is, okay, well, it's set at medium. What does that mean? Am I allowed to burn? It's really kind of unclear and just leads to questions. I did find an example of the sign that I'd like to move to. However, I didn't find it in time to include it. So if council would like to see my example, I'd be happy to provide that after. And that's the same with the medical skid. That's another thing that I thought maybe a visual might be helpful. So I do have those that I can provide. As well as our roadside signs that we currently have are taking some damage, as well as they've been out in the sun for quite a few years. So it's time to update and replace those. Continue current portable radio replacement program. So that would be 5 portable radios. And that would replace the oldest radios that are currently in our system. And this is a program that can be scaled back or put on hold in the next couple of years. Once all of our radios have been upgraded from the oldest version, then we don't need to continue with maybe 5 radios, or we might be able to, like I say, put that on pause until we have to start with the radios again. Bunker gear, 6 sets of bunker gear. This is a continued replacement program. With a 10-year usable lifespan, I would imagine this program will be in place for the foreseeable future. And it's not just to replace the outdated bunker gear. Hopefully we'll have enough that we can have 1 or 2 sets of bunker gear in storage or in spare, so that way when we send a set of bunker gear out for repair, then that particular firefighter will still have in-date gear to use should we need to enter a structure fire. Continue attack hose and nozzle replacement. So Chief French started this a little while ago, and we're trying to replace our hose and nozzles with what's becoming the new industry standard, is a setup that allows for a lower pressure to be required to achieve the same volume. And what that does is it puts a lot less pressure on our firefighters. What I mean by pressure is actual pushback from the nozzle reaction, as well as it'll allow our trucks to operate at a lower RPM. So it's a lot easier on fuel and easier on the truck itself to achieve the same volume. Technical rescue equipment. As we continue down the technical rescue path, we like to each year build what our equipment to what we need it to be. And this year, the main thing would be the tripod you see in the picture, which creates an artificial edge over a natural cliff. Just something to keep your ropes up and over the edge, so you're not dragging them on the ground. It also can be used for quite a few other applications, but that is the main thing, is an artificial edge. Replace the floor in meeting room at station 70. This is actually something that may be done this year. It's in this year's budget, and we're just waiting to see if we have some contractor who's going to be able to do it this month. I'm fairly confident that this could be put in the completed section. So, hopefully. Next slide, please. Program development. Continue to develop training programs to meet provincial certification requirement. And that's going to be our technical rescue, as well as our fire officer level 1 and 2, which is this 2026 round of mandates. I'm happy to say that almost all of our firefighters, our officers are prepared for the 2026 deadline for Fire Officer 1 and Fire Instructor 1. However, going forward, these programs, it would be nice to have them also approved to teach in Algonquin Highlands, to keep all of our training in-house and at a lower cost than what it would be to send people to regional training centers. Continue countywide training collaboration, just like we do with our firefighter 1 and 2 and hazmat. Continue down that road with the county and include technical rescue, as they've shown interest in those skills and that certification. And what we've found is anytime we do stuff together as a county, the outcome is better, is far greater. And that comes from having a wider variety of instructors and knowledge and coming together to put on bigger and better programs. Utilize iPads for documentation and response. So we're looking at using the iPads for Schedule 1 inspections for the trucks, as well as equipment checks for the equipment on the trucks. And then to go past that, the applications I spoke of in the beginning, who's responding would be on the iPad, so we can see who's coming to the call, even when the officer's in the front seat of the truck and maybe even already left the hall. At a glance, they can see who's coming up next and decide which truck they want out next, and so on and so forth. The hazmat ERG app, which is absolutely amazing, won't replace having the ERG books in the truck, but it does offer some better options for plotting hazmat responses. What 3 Words is another application that I'm sure everybody's heard quite a bit about, and that's another one that would be very valuable to have on the iPad, as well as other navigation apps. Currently, our firefighters, if they don't know where the address is, they have to pull out their phone and Google it or pull out a paper map. So to have an iPad in the truck to quickly check out some navigation apps would be beneficial. Okay, next slide. Priorities for emergency management. Achieve compliance for 2025. We had our tabletop exercise, and as council is aware, which was on a county level in Minden, and I think it went quite well. So we'll continue down that road and keep achieving compliance. So all members of emergency management team have completed basic emergency management training, conduct joint county training and tabletop exercise that I just spoke of, host business continuity workshop, which we have completed, which I also believe was very valuable and successful. So for 2026, we do have some new emergency management members, mostly alternates, I believe, and it would be a good idea to have them complete the basic emergency management training as well. Incident management, IMS 100 for all emergency management teams. I believe we still have some people outstanding that don't have that training, so we'd like to get that put in place. And develop business continuity program for the Township of Algonquin Highlands. And that's gonna go hand in hand with our business continuity workshop. So hopefully everybody remembered that, and it won't be that difficult to make our business continuity plans. Maintain municipal compliance. Continue joint county training and tabletop exercise. And expand public education initiatives. So for the public education, hoping to use social media platforms and public education events that we're already attending to promote emergency preparedness, as well as personal and family preparedness, things like 72-hour kits, so on and so forth. Okay, next slide. Future financial considerations. The big one, replacement of Station 60 in Dorset. And again, we'd be looking at property and the net zero options. New pumper for Station 80. So that hopefully will be in the spring of 2029, which we have been putting money away in reserves to make this purchase. However, a new pumper can be a 2 to 3 year build. So we're going to be looking a little bit harder at that and when we need to put that order in. Annual inspections for vehicles and trailers. When the process changed for doing that, it became a little bit more expensive and time consuming. So that's another financial consideration, and just listening to Public Works and the mechanic idea, that would, if that person would be doing safety inspections, I could see that being a benefit to the fire service as well. Training ground development. It's still a new area for us, and if we're to continue there, I would like to develop that to meet our needs with all the courses that we're putting on. A single area to set our students and instructors up for success would be amazing. Okay, next slide. So in summary, 2026, we'd like to continue progress towards full firefighter and officer certification. We'd like to enhance our facilities to support safety, security, efficiency, and longevity. Invest in technology to improve operations and documentation. Strengthen community outreach and prevention programs, as well as planning for the future infrastructure and apparatus replacement. Next slide. And that's the end of my projects and priorities presentation.
Thank you. That was an excellent presentation. And before I go to questions, I just want to say how much council truly appreciates the efforts of our volunteers to save life and property. And, you know, that we can't say enough about the work that you do.
Thank you.
So questions for Mr. Shelley? Deputy Mayor Dale.
Thanks a lot, Chris. I have just a few and a couple of comments. I love what you're proposing regarding the fire hazard signage. I can visualize in a couple of our neighboring townships. I'm thinking South Algonquin in particular. They've got a really clear way of describing what high, medium, and low means that tells you right away what the bylaw says. But you know, even driving by, you totally know what you can and cannot do from those signs. So I think that's great. It does lead me to a similar question though. The green light roadside signs. There are some counties, I'm thinking Prince Edward County in particular, really high levels of tourism. And it seems like every 5 or 7 kilometers as you're going down the roads in Prince Edward County, there's a little sign, public awareness sign saying, if you see a green light, this is what it means, and pull the heck over. And they've hit that county hard. And so I wonder, is that something that we could be considering, given the high levels of tourism that we have here, and perhaps some city folk who don't know what those green lights are?
Absolutely, thank you. And through you, Mayor, that is definitely something that I can explore, and I don't believe the cost would be too high on that either. I have seen the signs you're speaking of, and I believe they're not a large sign, but they get the point across. Absolutely, I'll look at it.
Yeah, that's great. Regarding preparedness, emergency preparedness, would you kindly remind council, where are we on inspections for our warming centers with the health unit? Are they already, have they all been cleared and approved, or are we still working on that?
We're still working on that. There's just a little bit of paperwork left to do, and I'll be working with our representative from the health unit to complete that.
Great. But that would this year, you think, for sure?
Definitely not this year. Early, I'll definitely have that paperwork done early in the coming year.
Sorry, that's what I should have specified. That's what I meant, in the coming year for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So you've discussed a little bit about training for officers. Could you remind us, do we support officers who are interested in getting their DZ licenses, but who don't have any other reason to get it apart from being able to drive some of our fleet for fire? Is that something that we support them on, or I wonder if we might support them on that?
We do provide some support in not only acquiring the license, financial support, as well as completing your annual, or your, not annual, but your medical, I believe is every 5 years. So that is what we do at the moment.
Okay, great. So, for some reason that escaped me. I'm glad to hear that we do that. And my final question, you were referring to What 3 Words, which is great. It's a wonderful app. But at county, very recently, we had an interesting presentation on the new NG 911 GIS life cycle strategy. And I wonder if, is that part of have you been very much a part of that conversation, or is that part of your work plan going ahead to see how we in Algonquin Highlands Fire can make use of that quite incredible upgrade to our information?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Unfortunately, I was not part of that meeting. However, that is definitely something I can look into and see how that will fit into our operations.
Councillor Barry.
Just in regards to the discussion of the mechanic, is it, I'm assuming that you and Public Works have maybe had a discussion?
Not a formal discussion. I was aware of the potential for a mechanic, but no discussions.
Just clarification that the said mechanic could probably do the same type of work on the fire vehicles and that type of thing.
Right, thank you. Through you, Mayor. As I sat here through the Public Works and listened to the mechanic, the wheels were turning as in my head as well as to how the fire service could utilize that person. So I think that the next step would definitely be, well, to see where that goes and then have the conversation with Public Works to see how that would fit into the fire service as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Richards.
Just to follow on that a little bit further, does that mean that and maybe it's a question for Angie, that the considerations for how much it would save us to have a mechanic are so far have only been given to the Public Works equipment, and so it would be that much greater for other departments?
Through you, Mayor. Generally, it's with Public Works, the savings, but it certainly has been considered as well for example, for our PRT fleet. and I would look to Adam on whether or not it has been considered in any great degree for fire. I don't think as much, but he would need to speak to that.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. So when we put this together for potential for a mechanic, it was only looked at the efficiencies that could be found within Public Works, because that obviously is the department that I oversee. But across the board, we know that the equipment for the fire department, the equipment for PRT goes to the same locations that we send our equipment to for the most part. The only difference would be as our mobile mechanic is strictly comes to us, not to fire or to PRT. So to answer the question fully is that yes, efficiencies were looked at across the board, but mainly just for Public Works, as I would be presenting that. The idea behind the strategy of putting together a maintenance plan with the mechanic in the first couple months of hiring a mechanic is simply to look over everything we have, all of our municipal vehicles, all of our municipal equipment, including fire, PRT, bylaw, office waste, things of that nature. The one caveat that we wouldn't be able to really look at or work on very much would be fire-specific items. So anything on the fire apparatus. And my history of this and knowledge of this is because I've been on the fire department, is just that there are some items that our mechanic just can't do. A licensed person would have to come in, like pump testing, ladder testing, things that are specialized to the vehicle itself. That would be the only area they wouldn't be able to work on. But anything else outside of that, as long as it falls under the Class A mechanic license, then they would be able to handle it.
Councillor Berry?
I mean, I accept that this is a preliminary discussion, and I assume there would be probably a report with a bit of financial background or, you know, hypothesis of how this would work. And I guess I just wonder, and maybe I'm just getting ahead of myself, but how would that work if the mechanic lived in Public Works? Would that be like put out similarly to how we do with equipment? So for instance, with the lawnmower, you know, it goes back into each, it's kind of a service within each department, but then it kind of comes back into the layout of the budget and how the expenses are sent. Would it be shared that way? I just wonder how it would work with a mechanic in Public Works being used in other departments and how that would be put out.
I think Adam's got a response for you there.
Yeah, so yeah, and it's a really good question. So under each department does something a little bit different with their GL that we can work with our treasurer on. But for the most part, most of the vehicles have their own GL, as we know. And within that, they have itemized lists of things. So for equipment repairs, equipment wages, things of that nature. So we would be able to utilize that essentially, that if a truck is being, so as an example, if PRT has a truck that they want to do an oil change on, they've already calculated in what that oil change costs and how many of them they're going to do throughout the year. So that mechanic, when it works on the vehicle, would just submit on their timesheet what they did that day. So there would be a vehicle code, there would be the GL code that would go along with that, and then finance and myself would work that out essentially. And if I can also answer the other question about a report or how this would look moving forward, very similar to the last two staff members that we have hired and put in place new positions. That was the discussion with our CAO and our treasurer. And then at budget time, we would let council know that within all of our budgets, it does factor in a staff member. It wasn't the last two times, it wasn't a report. However, we did go through with the finance department to make sure that it did make sense. Like we put just Public Works equipment against hourly rates and what that looked like. And long term, it makes financially efficiencies. We see the efficiencies of having one.
That answers your question. Councillor Richards?
I'm just wondering if maybe for when we do have those budget talks, if do you think we would be able to see that across other departments? So that when we're having that discussion to hire a mechanic, we can see what the cost savings would be?
Go ahead.
If I may, you certainly are going to see cost savings because the way we presented it when we were putting it together is simply $120 an hour for a mechanic if we take it to a shop. So the mechanics work that they can do within our shop is going to be more than half the cost. So it's going to be difficult I think, for us to put together saying that we're going to save $100,000 next year by hiring a mechanic, because that's not how we looked at it. We just simply looked at how many hours the equipment goes out and based that on how many hours, or sorry, what the hourly rate is that we're being charged per invoice. So if the vehicle was sent out, let's just as a quick example, to have the brakes done, and that cost us $1,500. Out of that is $500 in labor. Well, then we put that against how many hour, or we would charge our mechanic out at, and that was where we found the efficiencies. So the parts are still the same cost. It's just the hourly rate is where we're seeing savings.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just to build on that, for the fire service, our vehicles don't tend to need as many repairs as public works, but I am noticing that the annual safeties are taking up a significant amount of time, as well as it can be difficult to line up drivers to pick up and drop off vehicles. So to have a mechanic right next door to Station 80, there could be other efficiencies as well, and just drive time and availability of the vehicle. If a mechanic says they can do our safety, but they don't prioritize it and they do something else, our vehicle may sit in their yard for a day or two. Whereas if it's sitting somewhere where we can access it, then it's still available for response. With the door fob, my door fob could potentially open the garage where the truck is being parked for the night.
And sorry, to further on that, I just want to be clear that at the beginning, if a mechanic is hired, the mechanic will not be able to complete an annual safety. They will be able to do all the work to send it to somebody to complete the safety. So an annual safety only costs a couple $100, and the time for them to walk around the vehicle. Our plan is that the mechanic would look over the vehicle, know what needs to get done to pass safety, complete the work in-house, and then send it somewhere to have the safety done. Our goal here is that we have really good relationships with dealerships, the county, things that the licensed shops that can do safeties, is that we would build that relationship further by giving them a list of the equipment that we have, also the work that we just did on the equipment to get it ready for the safety, and then send it out to them so that when they go over it, they're not having to replace anything that's outside of what it requires to have a safety, because our mechanic has already done that. So it's just simply they do the quick look over the machine, they follow their rules for safetying a vehicle, and then it should be in and out within a couple hours versus dropping a piece of equipment off. They look at it, they order the parts, it sits there for 3 days, it gets its safety when the parts come in, and then it comes back to us. And that's common practice across the field. It's not anything new, and it's not specific to Algonquin Highlands or any kind of dig on a dealership or a mechanic that's watching this. It's just that's the process.
Any other questions? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
It is here. I think we might have enough time to do building and bylaw. Given that I'm believing that your report will have the same level of brevity that you do council meetings. Sorry, Greg. And then we'll break for lunch.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Thank you for that intro. We get that.
Not taking away from the good work that your department does.
Well, part of my intro is just that. I want to let you see the pretty picture, introduce you to the presentation today, but I will apologize, however, because building and bylaw activities are typically not exciting. Majority of our tasks include enforcement of the Building Code Act and the township bylaws. So there's we're not building bridges or the such. Next slide, please. Oh, you're there. I'll be there. Building and bylaw departments have had a busy and productive year, which includes the completion of many projects, including the items depicted on this slide. A couple of the more exciting projects from last year are the implementation of the AMPS bylaw and the septic reinspection program. Next slide, please. Projects that staff are excited about is the hiring of the septic reinspection program inspector, as well as the launch of the program itself. I'm fairly excited about our concept, how it's going to roll out. Staff are working collaboratively to ensure a smooth start on that. Now, next slide. The program will commence with the southern part of the township, which in previous septic reinspection program was called Zone 1. Basically, what we've narrowed it down to is all the properties depicted in the 001 assessment area. We hope to get that done, as this is all going to be brand new, and I'm hoping to come back later on in the year with a favorable update and a smooth project going forward. The supporting bylaw for this inspection program will be provided early in January for council's approval. Staff will investigate fees and charges associated with the program to aid in compliance with remedial action. Hopefully there's not too much, as most would have been addressed in the previous program. Next slide, please. Yeah, I love my hound. The new lifetime dog tag program has been a huge success and is very useful data to aid in public safety and the safe return of lost animals. The long-awaited property standards bylaw draft will be presented early in the new year for council's approval. And yeah, again, there'll be a little bit of staff training. We haven't had staff are fairly well trained, so there'll be a very minimal amount of training required. We're all keeping up on our regular training, as well as I know the the deputy CBO is still pursuing more qualifications. And I guess the final slide. Me? You're right.
Questions on building and bylaw? Deputy Mayor, you.
Thanks, Mr. Moore. The property standards bylaw, will it include my favorite topic, which is abandoned and unsalvageable buildings, and what we can do to strengthen our enforcement teeth for getting those knocked down or refurbished, any solution at all?
Most definitely.
Yes.
That
Good
would
answer.
be, yes, that would be the one of the major reasons for it.
Any other questions for building and bylaw? Well, thank you, sir. We look forward to, seeing how the septic inspection program rolls out, and it's exciting. Is that really your dog?
No. No, thank you.
Okay, well, we will now break for lunch. I think maybe for half an hour, that'd be good enough. I think lunch is here. Is that, or shall we say 3/4 of an hour? All right. Pardon me? We'll break until 1:45. Welcome back to our projects and priorities meeting. Next up on the discussion list is planning. Good afternoon, Mr. O'Callaghan.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So yes, this is the Planning Department 2026 projects and priorities. If I could have the next slide. And this is just touching on the points of the corporate strategic plan that council supported, and just the projects listed in here and how they relate back to that plan. Next slide. So for 2025, as council will see, there's several projects that would have been started perhaps even before this, but as council's aware, the projects that the planning department looks after generally last or span over a multi-year period. So a lot of these things listed here, such as the license of occupation policy and short-term rental bylaw, are now ongoing matters that I'm overseeing. Next slide, please. And that's just a continuation. So the development charges background study in conjunction with the county, that's coming to a close here soon. And we're continuing to work on service delivery review recommendations, specifically exploring the option of a one official plan for the county. Next slide, please. So for 2026, again, it's just a continuation of these projects. One thing to point out is the purchase of an additional vehicle for the short-term rental slash bylaw enforcement. So we'll be looking to complete that as soon as possible. Next slide. And just a few things to highlight on here. Staff are continuing to turn our mind to supporting affordable housing projects throughout the township and exploring opportunities there. And we are in discussions with the Ministry of Natural Resources with respect to exploring the option of purchasing or leasing crown land for various township interests. And planning department fees will be something I'll be looking at updating in 2026. And that concludes my presentation.
You weren't supposed to be faster than Greg.
I'm sorry. I just won $5.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be cheeky. I guess the one question that I would have is where we are with the acquisition of Crown land. I really would like to be able to feel that we are making progress, but it
Mhm.
doesn't feel that way somehow.
Sorry, through you, Mayor. The ministry's been very receptive, and they are helping us in providing us, next steps and information that they need to continue on that path. So I am in the process of filling out an application that they require and putting together some plans to send to them to help continue those discussions. So this past year, they've been extremely helpful, I would say, in supporting us with that endeavor.
So do you think that it would be possible for us to acquire Crown land through some process? I'm suspecting maybe lease might be the best option, but I don't know that for sure. This coming year?
I would suspect so. The ministry's laid out a few different options that are available, and we'll be bringing a report back to council for consideration. But there are sort of fast track options versus flat out purchasing property.
Okay, right on. Counselor Barry,
Just out of curiosity, when will the next comprehensive zoning bylaw be looked at?
Generally, that occurs within 2 to 3 years of a new official plan being implemented. Our official plan is due to be updated. However, we have been holding off on that pending the outcome of the service delivery review because we may be going or may be exploring going to a single official plan. So it wouldn't make sense for us to spend almost $100,000 on a new official plan for it to be no more. So once we have that sort of path figured out, then I can start scheduling the zoning bylaw too. No, so the official plan, if we go to a single official plan, that would be a multi-year process. Likely not beginning until late next year, possibly 2027. And then the zoning bylaw would be after that. So. Oh, sorry. I thought you said next year. My apologies.
yeah, I mean, the thinking is that we all need to renew our official plans at the county and all of the 4-member municipalities. And why would we all spend that amount of money when we all have to follow the county's official plan anyway? And there is the ability, if there are unique aspects to each municipality, to have a sub-plan to that one plan. So that's kind of the direction that is being investigated, let's say. Other questions, Councillor Richards?
I have a few questions. You're mentioning continuing to support affordable housing projects. Can you be a little bit more specific about what you're planning to do or bring forward to help development?
Yes, so the council direction was to explore municipal pieces of property and whether or not there would be third parties interested in either acquiring those to develop for affordable housing projects or some sort of partnership. So we'll be setting up meetings with certain groups to have those discussions, and once there's a bit of a more formal plan in place, we can bring that back to council for further direction.
Okay. Do you have any update for us on those talks with Habitat right now?
There was a meeting that we unfortunately had to reschedule, so we are just in the process of rescheduling that. So I would hope in the next couple months we should be able to set something up, I would suspect.
My fault. Sorry. Just, I mean, the sooner that we can sit down with Habitat and, discuss what our options are, the better. I think you probably hear that from every member of council. Further questions, Councillor Richards? Deputy Mayor Dayu?
That was my principal question as well. And I suppose just to emphasize what you've said, I think it would be great if at the end of this term, we can say, yes, we have done this in furtherance of affordable housing. Don't know what it is yet, but it would be so great if in the next year we could just have a real win under our belts with regards to that.
All we can do is our absolute best to see that happens. Any other questions for Sean? Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next is administration. Good afternoon, Madam Treasurer.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm actually presenting the general government priorities and projects and priorities, and I'm doing it in conjunction with the Clerk's Department. So Sarah may join me at some point, or Angie or Dawn may elaborate on some of the topics because they'll have more response or more answers for it. With regard to the 2025 accomplishments, just like every other department and with the support of council, administration has been busy as well and has lots of accomplishments for last year. We were able to complete the onboarding of all departments on the SharePoint as part of the electronic records management project. And clerk's department were able to update the cemetery bylaw and start their discovery work, complete their discovery work for the cemetery software. We have a very wonderful completion and opening of the green burial section at St. Stephen's Cemetery, which was jointly completed through collaboration between administration and public works departments. So thank you everyone for the support and councils as well. We completed the RFP in collaboration with the county municipalities and awarded a contract for internet and telephone voting for the upcoming election in 2026. We actively participated in the digital strategy group and projects are underway related to the ERP, GIS, NG11, and various other software demonstrations. A lot of acronyms there, but most people are familiar with. We successfully completed the recruitment of our digital transformation coordinator, who is in our room with us today. We successfully completed the asset management plan update in accordance with the regulations, which council was presented to council at our last meeting. We continued to collaborate with local municipalities for the replacement of our financial software prior to the GP end of life anticipated in 2029. So that is a project that's still ongoing. We continue to provide access to training opportunities to our administration team to enhance their skills and knowledge and provide exceptional customer service to current and future property owners. And we continue to improve online efficiencies and improve point of sale processes for all municipal facilities. PRT touched on the fact that we switched out our POS at the tower, and it has been a very successful switch. So next slide, and then next slide. So looking ahead to 2026, the projects continue. In 2026, we're hoping to implement the cemetery software and migrate all of the records into a digital format. We will be managing and executing the 2026 municipal and school board elections. The clerk's departments will be preparing the records management policies and procedures. We will continue the RFP processes for the replacement of the ERP in collaboration with participating municipalities.
If you wouldn't mind, rather than saying ERP or using acronyms, if you could, just for council's information, just expand on what that is.
ERP.
And for the public as well.
Yeah, sorry, the ERP is the financial software that runs the municipality.
What does ERP stand for?
Sorry, that.
Enterprise resource.
Thank you, Enterprise Resource Plan.
Thank you.
It's one of those ones I've always called it financial software as well, so I apologize. One of the things that was touched on in fire, which we've also included in is the preparation of the continuity operations plan. So it was with regard to the EMO and that exercise, but it is something that we'll do with the administration department as well. We are hoping to proceed with proposed office additions.
Sorry.
We're
Office addition?
It's renovations.
Thank you.
Updating policies for the procurement of goods and services and cash management procedures. Those will be in the works next year. And we will continue to improve online efficiencies in relation to the provision of information and completion of applications and payments for services. And also provide education and training opportunities for staff. We'll continue to do those and support staff in those efforts for 2026 as well. Next slide. So in closing, one thing we just wanted to point out is that we, in accordance with the strategic plan and strategic priority of service excellence, the administrative team is committed to providing friendly, courteous, and effective customer service to ensure that our residents know that they are valued and understood. Our objective is to go beyond basic needs and to provide innovative and efficient services to enhance municipal processes and exceed expectations wherever possible. And we do this in collaboration with all other departments and council as well. It's a team effort. And it's one thing that the AH team is proud that we're providing these excellent services together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm looking to see if Councillor Richards is still here. She's not on the screen. Questions from council? Deputy Mayor Diane.
Thanks a lot, Jeannie. I've got one smaller question and one slightly more nebulous question. We'll work through it together. The smaller one is about this time last year, we had an initiative, an entertainment group came in and they did some filming in Algonquin Highlands. And there were certain expectations that were set up, but on the whole, it was a fairly new experience for us as a township. And some things went well and some things didn't really go well for the folks who were living on the roads that were affected by this work. And one of the results of that was that at council, we had a conversation about bringing back a policy of, what do we do when entertainment groups in the future want to film here? Do we charge them something, which we couldn't do before because we didn't have a policy on it? What are the insurance expectations, et cetera, et cetera. And so we asked for that to be considered and brought back. And I wonder if that's something that, I know we're heading into a busy election time, but I wonder if that's something that might be brought back for consideration this coming year.
I might defer that to our CAO.
If that's the direction of council, certainly we can put something together, yes.
Is that something that you've heard might be likely to happen in the near future?
No,
Or
it's-
just
it's
that we need to follow?
Going through the conversations that we've had in the last 12 months and wanting to find out where we are on those previous points as part of the PNP.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, that'd be great. And the slightly more nebulous one, over the last year, we've had a number of occasions around this table when we've talked about our revenue sources, our revenue streams, and how some of them don't seem to be right fitted. I wonder if there is scope to have some more strategic conversations about financial strategies and revenue streams, such as, the shared services agreement with Dorset. I know that the last year of a term is not the prime time to start a negotiation with a neighboring municipality.
You mean Lake Base, just to be clear?
Lake Base, I'm sorry. Yeah, Lake Base. But it's something that's been raised a few times, and there's a distinct imbalance in what we are paying for versus what Lake Base is paying for, that I think should be rectified. And I wonder if that's something that we can build into our projects and priorities for this year. Or another point that's been raised a few times, but we've never done anything formal about it, is, our airport serves everyone in Haliburton, not just in Algonquin Highlands. And we have talked about looking to reinvigorate our support from them, to support the airport, because it does serve everyone. And I wonder if we can bring that back. And I'm looking to you because you've given the presentation, recognizing that that's also, that's council and we've made some really good strides in ratepayer versus non-ratepayer revenues when it comes to the Dorset Rec Center. I think that's a really excellent way forward. But we also identified there are other things in Parks and Rec where there's still a great disparity between the ratepayer support for, the water trails, for example, versus their usage. And we decided to not go forward with the bifurcation of fees, but I wonder if, we should be thinking again, how can we strategize this? The last thing I want to do is to lose those sorts of services during, an election because we haven't right-sized the revenue to the output. So it's a question for, for the whole group. I wonder if we can just spend some time this year trying to get really strategic and deliberate about some of those revenue imbalances.
I will answer part of that. With respect to our relationship or shared services with Lake Bays, we did agree, I guess I should say, myself in discussion with the CAO agreed that we would like to leave their new CAO for a short period of time until he had a chance to get his feet wet. Since that, before we had a major discussion about it, since that time, our CAO has had some discussions with their CAO, and things are moving forward, and there is a plan for us to sit down, with myself and the mayor of Lake Bays and the two CAOs to see, how we can go forward with our shared services agreement. With respect to the airport, there's so many, I mean, I could talk about the airport and what we need to do or what I would like to see us do forever. But I do know that there has been some discussion and soon will be another discussion, the CAO, myself and yourself, with the Economic Development Department of the county to talk about what we'd like to see as far as support in marketing the airport. The airport committee as well has been given a little bit of leeway to talk about marketing. Now, they haven't really done that, to any great extent, but they can have input into that. And I look forward to hearing, what Mr. Thorne and consultant have got to present to us about airport development, and I would like to see, us to have input into that as well as the committee to have input into that. I think, well, I mean, you've heard me say 1,000 times that there is a great opportunity there for us, for revenue, for development, for, more tax levy. And I just don't want us to lose sight of that. With respect to the level of fees and charges, I mean, we have started into that. I think we made a little bit of progress. I'm not sure that we were all on the same page, so I would definitely welcome us having another discussion about that to see, if there's any room for movement. I think that, I was glad to see that we did come to an agreement, at, I think, our last or within the last couple of meetings on part of that. But, I think that there are some strategic discussions that council needs to have with department heads going forward that, that would be beneficial going forward. And they should take place probably sooner than later, given that we are, about to move into an election year. I'm not sure if you want to add to that at all, Madam CAO.
Not other than if there's direction to have strategic conversations with department heads. I think it's important to, as from a staff perspective, know when council might want to have those, so we can sort of get that in the works.
Well, I mean, that, to me, that's a little bit challenging because we're moving into a series of budget discussions. And I do think that some of maybe what you're hoping to arrive at can be derived through our budget discussions. Because I mean, this is just like a beginning of how we're going to go forward for the next year. And I see that the discussions that we've had today are going to be just that much more detailed and in depth when we get into our budget meetings. I'm not sure really what to say about the timing of it. Because we are going to be putting such a great emphasis on budgeting over the next couple of months. What the best time to do that is. I'd like to sort of weave some of those discussions into our budget discussions. But I look to council for any suggestions that you've got about, because staff will need direction, and if they know that we want to talk about this certain, we would like to talk about this, green eggs and ham, and they can prepare for that discussion. So if anybody's got any thoughts on that? Counselor Richards, my apologies. You're just so far away.
Well, it is pretty late at night here too. Um, I just wanted, I'm really glad to hear that discussions are progressing with Lake of Bays. I'm wondering if I could just follow that up with asking, do you think that we might have a deal that could be put into or help with this year's budget? Or do you think these conversations are gonna continue on through the year? Or is it too early to?
I would suspect that the discussions would take a little bit longer than that. I mean, we might make some progress, but I think that that's being pretty aggressive to hope that we could, come to some new arrangement with them that would have a greater impact on our budget.
Well, I mean, it has been some time that they've been neglecting their part of the deal. So it would be great if we could be more aggressive.
I'm not sure
Not
that's.
to be too aggressive, but a little bit. Because we do need the funding, particularly in that area.
I'm not sure if it's a fair statement to say that they're not upholding their part of the deal. I mean, I don't have, I would look to the CAO to comment on that.
No, that is absolutely true. They definitely are upholding their current end of the deal. I think if it were to change, that's one thing, but currently the way it stands, absolutely they are holding up their end of the deal.
I do think we need to have a better understanding with how we work together with them, particularly when we've seen some of the discussions that have taken place, that they just seem to have kind of dropped responsibility for some things that, came sort of landed in our laps, and we need to come to a better understanding with them about, how those processes can happen. You can't just drop things in our lap like that and expect that we'll look after them, because that's not fair. But that's outside of the terms of our existing agreement. But, I will commit to pushing forward to have start discussions with them. Just sort of to work towards better agreements and understandings. Like, I can't offer any more than that. Any other questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Nay?
Just to circle back to the question of timing, on Parks and Rec at least, I think the fact that we're looking at a new master plan for Parks and Rec and Trails, that I think that is the conversation moment to have this sort of revenue stream engagement and discussion. It's as part of that process.
I do see that we need to have more discussion about it, but at the last discussion, there were certain aspects that some members of council wanted included in changing, and other members didn't. So, I mean, we really do need to have a greater discussion about that. Any other questions that are specific to administration? Oh, I did want to ask about the, I have had initial discussions, pretty blue sky discussions with the CAO about what was put forward as office additions, as opposed to renovations, and maybe you could speak to that just briefly.
I can, and I will be bringing something to council to look at at the December meeting. But the proposed renovations would be for this office. Don't want to get into too much detail because I want council to be able to see the plans for it at the next meeting. But it is for this office, the plan.
So I guess I would just ask in a general way, who we're hoping to accommodate.
Well, currently we're recruiting for our new septic inspectors. We have to have
Mhm.
somewhere for them to go. So that it would include, office space for that person. And so there's renovations for upstairs and renovations for downstairs proposed for future. And it would include a space for, so obviously the chief will have his office when he returns, and there is a proposed space for the training officer here in this office as well. The deputy chief, my apologies. Mhm.
Uh, I mean, it's too bad we couldn't just add space on. I'm always a little bit reluctant about tucking someone into the basement, but there's always ways to manage that. Did you have?
Other than just say that when we said office additions, we meant like additional offices. I guess I should have just reversed the words.
I just pictured this nice new
Oh.
space added. Any other questions on administration? Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is communications. Please tell me you didn't make a bet for $5.
Good afternoon, council.
Good afternoon.
For 2025, for me, we had the completion of the branding strategy, and that stemmed directly from a strategic plan. We had the establishment of AMPS on the website. We launched the Stanhope Municipal Airport Facebook and Instagram accounts. We've been publishing monthly digital newsletters now for a year. Continued expansion of the website in general. I completed an effective survey design micro certificate at Laurentian University, or through Laurentian University. I didn't physically go there. And I am part of the SDR. I am the team lead for the communications group for the SDR. That's ongoing, and I'm going to guess that council will see something in early new year on that. Probably. I shouldn't speculate, but best guess. 2026, creation of volunteer recruitment and retention strategy, and that's also through the strategic plan, stemming from the strategic plan. Renewal of the hosting contract for the website with GHG, and that's in June. And that was a 3-year contract, so I'd be looking at a similar length, I would guess. 2026 municipal election, councillors are probably aware there is an election. In the upcoming year, I'm working with the clerk on beefing up the website and doing some public education. Continuation of public surveys as per council direction. We're going to do dark skies, I think, finally this year in conjunction with the Environment and Stewardship Committee. Continued implementation of our various plans and strategies and potential implementation of recommendations from the SDR. And with that, are there any questions? And that may be $5, I don't know.
I did want to congratulate you on your work with the branding strategy. I found that to be a very positive experience, and I think we were all happy with the outcome. So well done on that.
Thank you very much.
And I would hope that we could put as much information on our website as possible about the elections, and what's required, what they can anticipate or expect. That might be hard.
Yeah, well, I think we're looking at information for voters, for candidates, and for the community, and trying to encourage people to vote. That's going to be a big part of it too. So sort of.
Well, and that's what we need is to encourage people, because, I honestly believe in the last election that there was a certain amount of apathy, that people just didn't come forward, it'd be nice to be able to, encourage a little bit more
At the
enthusiasm.
beginning, if I may, Madam Mayor, at the beginning of the new year, you'll see the new section launched, and we're going to push really hard on voter engagement for sure.
Right on. That's excellent. One thing you did mention, volunteer appreciation and a strategy about that. I did forget to comment to Mr. Card that I thought that the volunteer appreciation event that we had last year, or this year, I guess it was excellent. It really was a good event, and I hope to see any improvements that we can have. And we heard a lot of positive comments on that. So having said that, any questions for our communications coordinator? Counselor Barry?
I'm just wondering if you have any sort of metrics on, since you've been in this role of increased engagement.
I mean, when I showed up, the township didn't have any corporate accounts. So there's nothing to compare it to, but it's obviously our audiences on all platforms have steadily grown. Things plateau to a degree, but we always add a new audience as we go along, and I'm fairly happy with the way things are progressing that way. Like the newsletter, for example, so it's been up for a year. We don't quite have 1,000 subscribers yet, but it's several hundred. It's somewhere between 500 and 700 or something like that. And you grow those audiences over time. You know, you just have to keep pushing it every time it comes out, right? Don't forget to subscribe, and yeah, it feels like a slow climb sometimes, because it's difficult at the end of the day to get people to pay attention to local government all the time, right? But there is a general trend upward.
I will say that I do look forward to hearing the outcome of the discussions about communications when it comes to service delivery or the shared services with the county and the other municipalities. I've got some specific thoughts about that myself, but I look forward to hearing what the working group comes up with.
Yes, because our recommendations will go to the oversight group, and then the CAOs, I believe, will bring it to county council. I don't think I'm speculating too much by saying I think that a unified communications framework for the entire county is almost certainly going to be one recommendation. That's pretty clear at this point in time. I couldn't speak to what other outcomes might be, but I think a unified framework is going to be something, especially to deal with emergencies, but also just in general public education campaigns, that type of thing. I think that's almost certainly going to be one outcome.
Well, and I can definitely see that. And I think that actually the discussions actually started with emergency response and
Yep.
communications when it came to emergency response. And I can see, you know, if there are certain strategies that need to be like that impact us all, you know, being able to get the same message out is very important.
Absolutely.
Whether or not we want to get involved in, you know, having a communications department that is responsible for talking about every FET in every corner of the county is something, again, that, well, anyway, I look forward to hearing, you know, where the working groups land on that.
Early new year is my best guess.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Any other questions on communications? Hearing none. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Digital transformation. This is a big ticket item for us and for you, obviously.
Yes, absolutely. Well, good afternoon, Madam Mayor and Council. As we get the presentation up and before we start, I just wanted to start by saying thank you to Council. I have been here now for nearly 5 months, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to support the work that we will be talking about throughout this presentation. Also wanted to say a sincere thank you to the Township staff team. They have all been incredibly gracious with their time and their knowledge as I am getting up to speed on all things digital. So with that, we'll jump into the presentation. The presentation before you provides an overview of the projects and priorities for digital transformation. I included this slide because I quite like this definition of digital transformation, specifically because it emphasizes the alignment between people, process, and technology. Often, I think when we talk about digital transformation, our minds go first to the technology piece, and that is absolutely a really important enabler of digital transformation. But in my experience, a lot of truly successful digital transformation activities are based on the drivers that are people and process, really understanding what people want and expect and need, and then designing processes or refining the processes to meet those needs. We go to the next slide. This slide really summarizes some of the key 2025 digital transformation projects that have been underway. I won't read through this slide or go through it in great detail because our department heads throughout the presentations that you've seen this afternoon have touched on the majority of these projects. And I look forward to continuing to support them and this work at Council's direction as we move into 2026. So as we go to this next slide, you will see a number of the projects that were started in 2025 continue into 2026. They are listed here. I think what I do want to emphasize on this slide is that as we move into 2026, collaboration between the municipal partners continues to be a really strong focus of this work as we work together to explore a range of collaborative projects. Some of those are listed and a couple of the examples have come up today. We've talked a little bit about NG 911, GIS strategy, and another example included on this slide is a joint technology and education plan in support of technology projects and initiatives. If we go to the next slide, this slide really is intended to highlight that the digital transformation projects and priorities that you're seeing listed in this presentation and the way in which we're advancing them as a township align with the principles that are outlined in the collaborative IT digital strategy. Those principles are listed here on this slide. And then lastly, this slide is really to emphasize that the digital transformation initiatives also align with our corporate strategic plan, specifically the service excellence strategic priority. And with that, that brings us to any questions that you may have.
Well, we can certainly say that you've been a busy person. You've had to dive in, and learn, as you said, learn an awful lot about the municipality and what we do and what we do with our partners. And we appreciate the work that you've done so far. You can see that you've got a big job ahead of you. Any questions from council? You're kidding. Sorry. Okay, if I see no questions, thank you very much and good luck going forward.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Well, that brings us to the end of the presentations, and I would thank all of you for the work that you've done in your preparing to bring this information to us, for your patience, for staying with us all day long. I just look forward to working on a solid budget that is bearable to our ratepayers, and that that we can all go forward and work together on a successful 2026. So thank you, all of you, for all of your hard work. Could I have a mover and a seconder for the confirmatory bylaw? Councillor Barry and Shortreed. Sorry, did you have a question, Councillor Richards? Oh, okay.
Moved by Councillor Berry, second by Councillor Shortreed. Be it resolved that bylaw 2025-112, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council during its special meeting, be received and read a first time, consider read a second and third time, and finally passed with the corporate seal affixed.
All in favor? That's carried. And finally, a motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor Dayu, Councillor Richards, who's probably more eager than all of us to be able to adjourn late at night. Have a good rest of your trip.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Dayu, second by Councillor Richards. Be it resolved that the November 27th special meeting is hereby adjourned at 1:43 p.m.
All in favor? Carried.